Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto time travel Hiraishin. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Who are you? Asked Kushina, obviously startled by the mysterious stranger and how he had somehow bypassed the supposedly foolproof chakra chain barrier she had erected. After shaking off his stupor, the Yondaime's ninja instincts immediately kicked in, prompting the blonde-haired shinobi to chuck one of his special Hiraishin kunai at the stranger. The thrown projectile stopped suddenly in midair about 1 inch away from the stranger's hooded face, as if halted by an invisible force field. Without even waiting for the counterattack, Minato activated his signature jutsu, the Flying Thunder God technique, causing his body to flicker out of space-time and reappear directly behind the stranger in a yellow flash. With a Rasengan already formed in his left hand, Minato moved to slam the spiraling orb of chakra into the cloaked stranger's vulnerable back, but was stopped by a dazzling flash of white light which severely disoriented him. The next thing he knew, Minato was back to where he was before attacking, kunai still held firmly in hand. "Don't be so hasty, Minato-chan," said the cloaked figure in a chiding tone. "I was just about to answer your wife's question when you so rudely interrupted me." Minato frowned at the individual's remark, insulted by his use of honorifics. He was the Yondaime Hokage for Kami's sake, not some academy school girl. "Fine, then tell me who you are, and how you stopped my Rasengan so easily." The figure chuckled with mirth before replying, "It was nothing but a simple use of Jikukan ninjutsu. But instead of emphasizing the space aspect like the Hiraishin, my technique emphasizes the time aspect. As for your first question, well, why don't I just show you instead?" The enigmatic individual began to creep forward slowly, coming closer and closer until finally, his eyes were completely visible. They looked familiar. Twin pools of radiant sapphire composed of outwardly concentric rings surrounding a small, black pupil. The image of the stranger's unusual eyes pulled on Minato's memory and knowledge of the shinobi world. Where exactly had he seen these eyes before? That's when it clicked. These eyes, although a different color from that of the legend, were unmistakable. It seemed like just yesterday when his sensei Jiraiya told him and his team of genin about the origins of ninjutsu. These eyes, though, were the Rinnegan. "You're the Rikudo Sennin," exclaimed Minato in shock. The cloaked stranger promptly deflated, as if his self-esteem had just been crushed in a most humiliating manner, and Kushina just looked at Minato like he was insane. What are you talking about, Minato-kun?" questioned Kushina in a hushed tone. None of this made sense to her. "Don't you see, Kushina," explained Minato, "those eyes, they're the legendary Rinnegan. The dojutsu of myth possessed by the founder of all shinobi arts, Rikudo Sennin." The Rinnegan user gave off a heaving sigh before speaking. "I keep forgetting that I won't become a legend for another century or so. Now everybody in this timeline will confuse me for Sennin Teme. Man, this really bites." Quote. Now it was Minato's turn to look at the stranger like he was insane. "What are you talking about? Aren't you the Rikudo Sennin? You've got the wrong omnipotent, Minato-chan. It's Rikudo Hiraishin to you." That moment was the very instant in which the nine-tailed demon fox, having been forgotten due to the arrival of the so-called Rikudo Hiraishin, decided to break free from Kushina's chakra chains and release a mountain-shattering roar of fury. Sarutobi Hiraishin watched as a mysterious, cloaked figure seemingly conversed with his blonde successor and his red-headed wife, while the nine-tailed fox remained restrained by the latter's chakra chains. The retired Hokage and the two shinobi who had accompanied him were being kept out by a barrier projected by these very same chakra chains, and from this distance they couldn't hear a single word. That is until the Kyuubi finally broke free from its ethereal bonds and let loose a massive roar that reverberated painfully against the Sandame's aged eardrums. Reacting quickly, the former god of shinobi slammed Enma's staff form against the chakra chain barrier in a futile attempt to break through and give his successor much-needed assistance. He was just about to start the hand seal sequence for one of his more powerful offensive jutsus when the mysterious, cloaked figure simply pointed a single finger at the freed Biju, causing it to disappear in a poof of smoke and the jaws of all the other individuals present to drop. "How did you do that?" questioned Minato in shock and awe. The Kyuubi was the most powerful demon in the world, and this man, if he even was one, just made it disappear with nothing but a finger. Not only that, But this same man had laid claim to the title of Rikudo Hiraishin, a title he had never heard before even as Hokage. But even an idiot could tell that it was an obvious bastardization of the legend of Rikudo Sennin as well as the Yondaimi's own signature technique, the Flying Thunder God. What it meant exactly was, however, less than obvious. "Isn't it obvious?" said the Rikudo Hiraishin, spreading his arms out in a showy manner. Minato and Kushina just looked at him, unable to come up with an answer as to how the Rinnegan user had so casually defeated the greatest tailed beast. "I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin," exclaimed the cloaked figure, as if it were the answer to everything. The Hokage and his wife both sweat dropped at the man's silly antics. "We know that already," yelled Kushina, her annoyance at the eccentric stranger growing by the second. "You still haven't explained a single thing to us. What did you do to the Kyuubi?" "I'll tell you, on one condition," replied the Rikudo Hiraishin. "Name your terms, and I'll grant them. The balance of tailed beasts amongst the shinobi nations is absolutely vital to Konoha," explained the Yondaime. He was prepared to give this man anything and everything he wanted: money, power, even women. The Kyuubi could not be lost to his village, or else another world war would erupt. "I want a lifetime supply of ramen and cinnamon rolls," declared the Rikudo Hiraishin. For the second time this night, Minato's jaw hit the floor. What the hell? Minato's willing to give you almost anything to get the Kyuubi back and you waste his offer on ramen and cinnamon rolls, said Kushina in disbelief, mirroring Minato's own thoughts. After recovering from his own stupor, the yellow flash turned to his wife with a grin and said, "Well, I don't know about cinnamon rolls, but a lifetime supply of ramen sounds like a pretty good deal to me." Kushina proceeded to facepalm. "See, Granny, great minds think alike. And if there ever was a great mind, it would definitely be me. 'Cause, I'm the Rick." He never got to finish his statement as his body was suddenly impaled by multiple chakra chains which had sprouted from Kushina's body. "Did you just call me, Granny?" roared Kushina in demonic fury, her bloody red hair flaring about in 9 tail-like strands. Despite being stabbed by numerous immaterial chains, the Rikudo Hiraishin looked perfectly fine. His white cloak wasn't even stained by as much as a single drop of blood. Ooh, scary. A woman scorned is after all, a fury that which hell hath no. Tell you what, if you stop poking me with these chains of yours, which by the way, makes it obvious that Kushina Granny here is the dominatrix in your mutual lives, then I'll tell you everything there is to know about what exactly I did to the Kyuubi. Everything. Kushina was just about to fly into another murderous rage at the sound of the word Granny, when Minato placed a strong, reassuring hand at her shoulder, calming the red-headed kunoichi. "Go on, Mr. Rikudo Hiraishin. Tell us how you made the Kyuubi vanish," said the fourth. "I didn't make the Kyuubi vanish," replied the Rikudo Hiraishin. "Then what did you do?" The Rinnegan user simply pointed to the still-present smoke which had followed the demon fox's disappearance. The smoke cleared, revealing a small figure. A human infant with a mop of crimson hair on its head. The baby was currently sleeping in the middle of the very spot which the Kyuubi had previously occupied. "Is that a baby? What's it doing out here?" asked Kushina. Minato was beginning to wonder as well. His highly intelligent mind began formulating dozens of different possibilities. Every one of them was wrong. Yup, that's a newborn baby girl. But not just any baby, that is the Kyuubi itself, or should I say, herself, in human form. And then Namikaze Minato, Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, fainted like an academy schoolgirl. The man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara waited, bored, as Zetsu finished reattaching his new arm. The old one having been lost when he transferred the Rasengan damage that had been dealt to his back by the fourth Hokage. With the procedure finished, Madara tested his new arm, finding it his liking before thanking the bipolar, plant-like man. Hearing the sound of echoing footsteps, Madara turned around to find the diva Path of Pain and his blue-haired shadow Conan, staring stoically at him. "So, Madara, I take it that you failed in destroying Konoha and capturing the Kyuubi," said Pain, phrasing his words as a statement, rather than a question. "So it would seem," replied the Uchiha ancestor, while glaring at the Rinnegan user with his one, exposed Sharingan eye. "He also got his ass kicked for his troubles," exclaimed another voice. Both Dujutsu users' eyes widened in response. Someone unauthorized had infiltrated their hideout, the mountain's graveyard, and they hadn't even noticed it until now. Looking up towards the ceiling, Pain spotted a man in an elegant white cloak standing upside down. Besides a few golden blonde locks poking out from under his hood, the man's features were unrecognizable. Raising one opened palm in the direction of the intruder, Pain yelled, "Bansho Tenin." Suddenly, as if pulled down by gravity itself, the cloaked stranger plummeted to the ground in front of Pain, who proceeded to nail the intruder to the floor by stabbing his pale hands with 2 chakra disruption rods created from his own body. Pain knelt down next to the immobilized man before whispering softly into his ears, "Tell me who you are, or else I will show you the true meaning of pain." "Pain, is that all you have to threaten me with? I'm afraid you'll have to try a little harder than that, darling," taunted the cloaked stranger. Angered by his captive's words, the diva path violently lifting the man's body, ripping his hands away from the embedded chakra rods before grabbing him by the neck and slamming him hard against the nearest unlucky wall. "You will know pain," threatened Pain menacingly, before he got a better glimpse of the stranger's face, more specifically, his eyes. Suddenly gasping in shock, the former AIM orphan jumped back before taking a defensive stance next to Conan. "What could you possibly have seen," spoke Madara, "to frighten you so much, Pain?" "Look at his eyes," replied Pain, "they're the Rinnegan." Conan gasped, while Madara narrowed his own eyes. Then he saw it. Although barely visible in the dim light of their hideout, the stranger's eyes were instantly recognizable. Although not the same color as Pain's eyes, they were, without a doubt, the Rinnegan. The masked Uchiha stepped forward, approaching the cloaked Rinnegan user calmly. "My name is Uchiha Madara, the man who will someday rule the world and bring peace. Tell me, who are you?" "I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin," declared the cloaked figure dramatically. Behind his mask, Madara's eyebrows rose. Rikudo Hiraishin, or Flying Thunder God of the Six Paths, was not a title he had ever heard of before, despite the vast knowledge he possessed pertaining to the shinobi world. The Rikudo part made sense, since this strange man possessed the same Rinnegan as the original Rikudo Sennin. But the Hiraishin part made no sense. Was this man somehow related to the Yondaime Hokage? "I'm afraid that I've never heard of you before," said the masked man. "That's funny, because I don't think I've heard anything about you either," replied the cloaked man. "You've never heard of the name Uchiha Madara? I'm a legendary shinobi, long thought dead, who was one of the founding members of that bloody village Konoha. I once stood at the top of the ninja world with Senju Hashirama, the first Hokage, whom I fought to the death at the Valley of the End. I was the master of the Kyuubi, for God's sake. How could you not have heard of me?" ranted the Sharingan user. "Oh, I've heard of Uchiha Madara, all right," replied the Rikudo Hiraishin. "I enjoy waving mockingly at him whenever I pass through the afterlife. But you on the other hand, I don't think I've ever heard of a famous shinobi named Tobi." Zetsu gasped, Madara's eyes widened in disbelief, and both Pain and Conan raised their eyebrows in confusion. "What are you talking about? I'm Uchiha Madara," Tobi insisted. "No sir, you are full of shit," rebuked Rikudo Hiraishin. Tobi gritted his teeth in anger before deciding that he'd had enough of this man's antics. Charging at the man with blinding speed that resembled the body flicker technique, Tobi made a grab for the Rikudo Hiraishin's throat. Before his hand could connect, the Rinnegan user disappeared in a yellow flash, reappearing behind Tobi in an instant. Was that Hiraishin? Wondered Tobi in his mind, but he used it without seals. "He's even more talented than the fourth. You're far too slow for that to work, Tobi-kun," mocked the Rikudo Hiraishin before making a slash at the masked man with a regular kunai in his left hand. Tobi smirked behind his mask as the kunai slipped through his intangible form, allowing him to become solid again and catch the kunai. "It's over," declared Tobi before activating his space-time migration technique, which would warp the Rikudo Hiraishin to another dimension. But instead of feeling his enemy being sucked into his Sharingan eye, the masked ninja felt his own body becoming warped and distorted. "This can't be possible," whispered Tobi in a panicking tone. "How are you doing this?" "All I did was reverse your Jikukan Ido, or should I say Kamui, so that it would warp you into your own pocket dimension. It's actually rather simple when you think about it, dearie. Quote, why you, I will escape. This is my dimension after all," exclaimed Tobi as the last of his distorted figures swirled into a hole in reality and disappeared. The Rikudo Hiraishin turned around to find Pain, Zetsu, and Konan looking at him in shock at what he had done to Toby. In fact, Zetsu was actually giving a pretty good impression of a fish, which is ironic because that should be Kisami's area of expertise. "Ichi's right, you know," spoke Zetsu's black half. "You can't trap Toby in his own dimension. He'll just warp back here with the same technique and then you'll be doomed. That same strategy you used won't work on him twice," finished White Zetsu. "Then why isn't he back here yet?" asked Rikudo Hiraishin. "If you're right, shouldn't I be dead now?" Both sides of Zetsu just opened and closed their mouths, unable to come up with a retort. The blonde Rinnegan user decided to take their silence as an opportunity to continue, "But of course, we all know that you're wrong, and I'm right, and that cuttlefish are a species that, my dear friends, should never be forgotten. And how are cuttlefish related to our current situation, you must be wondering. To put it simply, they're not, but I enjoy being completely random at times that seem completely random. And therefore, I say we must talk about cuttlefish." The other three individuals in the room just continued gaping in utter confusion, finally realizing that the cloaked being was not at all sane. "Why, you're mad," said Pain in complete astonishment, finally regaining the use of his voice. "Well, thank me for that, because if I wasn't, spending an eternity with that stick in the mud would be a lot more boring than it already is." What did you do to I mean Toby?" asked Konan, trying to steer the conversation to a subject a little less crazy. "Oh, him. I just trapped him in his own dimension by sealing that particular space from the rest of reality. It was really a piece of cake," answered the Rikudo Hiraishin. "Now that that's over with, we can all celebrate. We shall have a magnificent garden party, and the best part is that Toby-kun isn't invited." Pain narrowed his eyes before outstretching his palm and yelling, "Shinra Tensei!" slamming the Rikudo Hiraishin into a wall with pure gravitational force. As a follow-up, the ginger-headed Rinnegan user flashed forward in a burst of speed before impaling the white-cloaked man in the shoulder, pinning him to the wall. "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you right now," threatened Pain. "Because it wouldn't work. I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin, after all." For some reason against his better judgment, Pain couldn't help but believe that. "Well then, if I can't kill you," continued Pain, "then I will show you true pain." The Rikudo Hiraishin just laughed in his face. "Like I said earlier, you'll have to try harder than that, darling. Although I don't prefer it, I can get off on a little pain now and then. I call it selective masochism." Screaming in rage, Pain yanked the Rikudo Hiraishin from the wall violently before throwing him up and using a powerful Shinra Tensei to blow the other Rinnegan user out of their hideout and into the sky. Gathering a tremendous amount of chakra into hands, the Diva Path slammed them together and created a small black orb. Konan's eyes widened. Was he really going to use that technique? Chibaku Tensei. The orb of black light was released from Pain's hands. Floating through the hole made through the hideout's ceiling by Shinra Tensei, the black orb quickly accelerated into the sky. "What are you doing, Nagato? Are you really going to waste this technique on someone like that?" Ignoring her, Pain watched as the black orb reached his target, the cloaked man in freefall. He slammed his hands together again and yelled, "My pain is far greater than yours." Like a madman, a trembling noise began reverberating throughout the hideout, as if an earthquake was going on. Transforming her body into paper, Konan created two angelic paper wings before flying upwards to catch a glimpse of what was going on above ground. What she saw was both horrifying and awe-inspiring. The entire surrounding landscape, from the smallest shrub to the tallest mountain peak, was being uprooted from the very earth itself and dragged into the sky by an invisible force. And all of it was converging on one, single, solitary point, the black orb and the white-cloaked man. In less than a minute, a miniature, floating moon had been created in the sky. Looking up at his creation, Pain sighed in relief before collapsing on his knees, exhausted from chakra depletion. It is done. If that man isn't dead, then he's trapped forever. The gravitational force at the center of that moon is so great that even a tailed beast could not escape. "I beg to differ," said a voice from behind. Pain froze. It couldn't be, it just couldn't be. But the former AIM orphan turned around and found that it was. There, standing less than 5 feet from him, was the white-cloaked man. The man who claimed to be the Rikudo Hiraishin. He was casually leaning against the wall with a smug smirk on what could be seen of his face, acting for the world as if nothing had happened. Naturally, Pain couldn't quite comprehend this twist of events and started raving madly. What? How? Why you? I saw you, trapped, but Chibaku Tensei is. The Rikudo Hiraishin's eyebrows rose beneath his hood, partially amused and partially annoyed. The white-cloaked man walked up to the raving Pain and full-on slapped him. Get a hold of yourself, Nagato-chan. You're a self-proclaimed god for God's sake. I have the Rinnegan too, a better one than yours in fact. Shouldn't it make sense that I would know how to escape from that technique? Pain, surprisingly, began to calm down, despite being literally slapped in the face by an enemy. What do you want from us? Asked Conan, as she floated back down from the ceiling hole. If neither Nagato nor Toby or whatever his real name was could defeat you with their strongest techniques, then there's nothing we can do to stop you anyways. The Rikudo Hiraishin let go of the still dazed Pain and said, I want you guys to give up on your plans for world peace. Now, before you fly off the handle again, I'm telling you this because I can offer you something even better than the small periods of peace and an eternal cycle of hatred which you are trying to achieve, Nagato-chan. I can give you eternal, genuine peace. Pain and Conan's eyes widened comically, shocked at what they were hearing. How can you possibly guarantee something like that? Asked Pain incredulously. Because, I've done it before, in another world, another space, another time, and I'll do it again. And with that, the Rikudo Hiraishin disappeared in a yellow flash. Unbeknownst to both Pain and Conan, the plant-like man known as Zetsu had also vanished. Namikaze Minato's eyes fluttered open before slowly adjusting to the harsh light of the hospital room. He had on the blue long-sleeved shirt which he usually wore underneath his Jonin flak jacket, as well as his usual combat pants. That was good, since he wasn't wearing a hospital gown nor was he hooked up to any equipment, then that meant his injuries weren't too serious. That's when he remembered. He had fainted like an academy schoolgirl. Immediately getting up from lying on his back, Minato yelled, Where is that bastard, Rikudo Hiraishin? Hearing laughter from his left, the Yondaime turned his head to find his predecessor, Sarutobi Hiruzen, chuckling at Minato's predicament. I see now that you're finally awake, Minato. The rebuilding process after the Kyuubi attack will go much smoother now with you as Hokage, said Hiruzen. Oh, and as for the so-called Rikudo Hiraishin, whose name you just yelled out, he's been walking around the village helping with the rebuilding. Unfortunately, people have started calling him the Yondaime look-alike, and some have even gone so far as to confuse him for you. Yeah, that sounds like him, remarked Minato, before he suddenly realized the implications of old Hiruzen's words. Wait, Yondaime look-alike, what the hell does that mean? It means that I look just like you, Minato-chan, spoke another voice. Looking up, Minato came face to face with a mirror image of himself, standing in the doorway. Well, not exactly a mirror image. There were several key differences. First of all, this man had a pale, alabaster skin tone, in contrast to Minato's tanned skin. His hair was blonde like his, but it had a more radiant, golden hue to it, as if it was made of woven gold itself. His face was not the same as his. It actually reminded him of a cross between Hiashi's wife and his own Kushina's face. How strange. Then there were the sapphire, concentric Rinnegan eyes that denoted this man as the self-proclaimed Rikudo Hiraishin. He definitely didn't have those. As for the man's outfit, he was no longer wearing the elegant, white cloak. Instead, he had a carbon copy of Minato's own signature outfit, except with different colors. He had Minato's trademark cloak, but with golden flames instead of red. His Jonin vest was golden instead of leaf green, and the rest of his outfit was likewise alternating themes of gold and white ivory. Even his forehead protector was a white band with a gold metal plate. Finally, the man spoke again. This getup really brings back memories. Now, then, I don't believe I've properly introduced myself to you. Really now, replied Minato. I seem to recall you saying, I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin, over and over again. Yes, I did, but that's just a title. Not my real name. Both Minato and Hiruzen listened closer, neither having heard the enigmatic individual's true name before. My name is Uzumaki Choetsu, and I'm your grandson from the future. This time, both the Yondaime and the Sandaime Hokages of Konoha have fainted like academy schoolgirls. How can we believe you, Choetsu-san? Something extremely far-fetched like that. My only son isn't even a day old and you're saying I have a grandson, said Namikaze Minato after recovering from the humiliation of his second fainting spell. His aged predecessor simply nodded in agreement, likewise recovering from his own incident of fainting. The subject of his successor's disbelief, the so-called Uzumaki Choetsu, gave a shit-eating grin at his supposed grandfather before replying, "Time travel, my dear friends, time travel. Like I said, I'm from the future. That's ridiculous. Time travel is impossible," rebuked the professor. "I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin. Anything is possible for me. And besides, if I wasn't Minato-chan's grandson from the future, how could I look so much like him?" "A simple henge could fool a lot of people," replied Minato. "Yeah, but not the two strongest, wisest shinobi in Konoha. I'm sure something as basic as a simple henge wouldn't fool you. There are other, less obvious ways of altering one's appearance," said Sarutobi. "Fine, if you don't believe my words, then I'll just have to show you," said Choetsu before snapping his fingers. Suddenly, the entire room was illuminated by a blinding light which forced the two cage-level shinobi to shut their eyes tight. Upon opening them, Minato and Sarutobi found themselves in a place completely different from the ascetic hospital room they had been in previously. They were on a battlefield. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru looked on in a combination of both awe and horror at the man. No, the monster that had single-handedly annihilated all of their comrades. This was the power of Hanzo the Salamander, the leader of Omegakure no Sato, the village hidden in the rain. Dozens of elite Konoha shinobi, almost all of them of Jonin rank, and the AIM leader just steamrolled through them as if they weren't even there. And Hanzo hadn't even broken a sweat, although it was rather difficult to tell from behind that bulky rebreather he wore. It was only a combination of their skill and renowned teamwork that the three students of the Sandaime Hokage were still alive. But at the rate they were going at, the future Sannin wouldn't last much longer. Forming a sequence of hand seals, Hanzo summoned a swarm of exploding tags from the ground beneath Tsunade's feet. In seconds they would wrap around the medic Nin's feet and detonate, killing the Senju heir. Luckily for her, Jiraiya was quick to notice and used his long, needle-like hair to grab Tsunade and protect them both from the chain of explosions that followed. "What?" exclaimed the salamander-like shinobi, surprised at the failure of his attack. Suddenly, snakes wrapped around Hanzo's body, immobilizing him. Orochimaru had made use of Hanzo's momentarily distracted attention to trap the AIM leader with his hidden snake hands. "Hari Jigoku!" exclaimed Jiraiya, who sent a barrage of hair needles at the immobilized Hanzo. Unfortunately for the Leaf Nin, their enemy used a quick shunshin to escape the assault, transporting his boss summon, Ibuse along with him. Little did Hanzo and the future Sannin know that their battle was being watched. What is this? Impossible," stammered the aged Sandaime as he watched his three students battle Hanzo from the sidelines. Standing next to him was his successor, who was also gaping at the remarkable scene, along with the self-proclaimed Rikudo Hiraishin, who had a look of smug indifference on his face. "This must be some kind of genjutsu," thought Sarutobi, "it's the only explanation." Putting his hands together in a tiger seal, the god of shinobi disrupted his own flow of chakra in order to break the illusion. Nothing happened. He tried again, and again, and again, but the illusion just wouldn't disappear. How can this be?" stuttered Hiraishin in disbelief. "Why isn't the genjutsu disappearing?" "It's no use, Sandaime-sama," said Minato. "If this was an illusion, my anti-genjutsu seal would have taken care of it." "Anti-genjutsu seal?" questioned the aged Hokage. "It's a special seal invented by Minato-chan over here that triggers whenever the user is caught in a genjutsu and then breaks them out, no matter how skilled the caster is. It's similar to the partner method used by perfect Jinchurikis," answered Choetsu, preventing the Yondaime from explaining it himself. "And how exactly would you know about my seal?" interrogated Minato, clearly not amused. The blonde time traveler just shrugged and said, "I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin. That's all there is to it." Minato scrunched his face up in annoyance before saying, "Well then, if what we're seeing here is not an illusion, then that must mean that you really are a time traveler, Choetsu-san. So you believe me then?" "I believe that you're a time traveler, yes, but whether you really are my grandson or not is still not clear to me." "I don't think he's lying, Minato-kun," said Hiraishin. "He resembles you too much. and it can't be a genjutsu because of your seal. See, even the old man believes me, said Choetsu enthusiastically. Come on, Minato Gigi, stop being so paranoid. If I wanted to destroy all of Konoha and the rest of the entire shinobi world along with it, I could do so in a millisecond. There's no reason for me to be deceptive about this. Minato sighed heavily, before replying, fine, I believe you, for now. But take us back to the present immediately. I have a lot more to discuss with you. Sure can do, Gramps. And on that note, the time-displaced trio vanished with a flash. As soon as they were back in the hospital room, Konoha's reigning Hokage began his interrogation. Why exactly did you come to the past, Choetsu-san? Was his first question. Is that really the first thing you're going to say to me, Minato Gigi? You're not going to thank me for saving the village. What are you talking about? I'm the Hokage, I was perfectly capable of protecting my own village. Yes, you are, replied Choetsu, but at what cost? Think about it, Gramps. What would have happened if I didn't come and discombobulate the big bad Kyuubi for you? Minato froze. He hadn't thought of that. I would have used Shiki Fuin to seal the Kyuubi's yin chakra inside the death god's stomach, and then I would have used the Hake Fuin to seal the rest of the fox's chakra in Naruto. Hiraishin was shocked. If Minato was to use Shiki Fuin like he said, then that would mean his death. To sacrifice not only his life but his very soul for the village like that, this man was truly worthy of his title. He was glad he had picked Minato over Orochimaru. Exactly, and as a result of your sacrifice, your wife Kushina Ba-chan would also die, and young Naruto would become the new Jinchuriki and an orphan. In fact, this is exactly what happened in my timeline. Your timeline? Asked Hiraishin. Yes. In the reality I come from, the Yondaime Hokage and his wife both sacrifice themselves to stop the Kyuubi and seal it within their son, whose childhood becomes filled with loneliness because the villagers couldn't see past their hatred for the nine-tailed fox. Minato looks at the floor in shame. I would have wanted Naruto to be seen as a hero. I'm sure you would, but you know how demon hosts are typically treated in this world. It would have never worked out. Reading the guilt forming on his predecessor's face, Hiraishin said, Don't punish yourself over this, Minato. It was the only thing you could do. If it makes you feel better, Ji-chan, said the Rikudo Hiraishin, Naruto never let any of the loneliness or hateful glares get to him. Eventually, he saves the world from a great evil and becomes the Rokudame Hokage. The expression of guilt on Minato's face turns to one of sheer, unbridled pride for his son, Naruto. He's amazing. He manages to accomplish all of that even when Kushina and I aren't there for him. Yeah, and now that you can be there for him, Naruto will become something even greater. Use the opportunity that I've given you to its fullest potential, said Choetsu. Is that why you've come to the past, Choetsu-san? Asked Hiraishin, to make the future a better place. The Rikudo Hiraishin gave the two a radiant smile before replying, the future already is a better place. Naruto saw to that. He saved the world and created a genuine, lasting peace. And I protected that peace, not only as the Hachidem Hokage and the Rikudo Hiraishin, but as the Shodai Kamikage. Uzumaki Kushina was never a morning person. Mostly because she absolutely hated the feeling of being woken up from a blissful slumber, especially one filled with dreams of her and Minato participating in certain activities. But no groggy morning could ever compare to the pain and discomfort Kushina was feeling now as she regained consciousness. Her entire body was sore and numb at the same time, a completely anatomical contradiction. She felt so very cold, as if there was a freezing void in the pit of her stomach, signifying the absence of Kyuubi. And she really had to pee. Oh God, Kushina, I'm so glad you're awake, exclaimed a male voice to the left of her. Tilting her head to the sound of the voice, Kushina found herself looking at her beloved husband, sitting in a chair wearing his blue shirt and reading one of Jiraiya's books. Minato, what happened? Asked Kushina weakly. How are you feeling, Kushina? What do you remember? I feel like shit, replied Kushina, followed by a painful, little laugh that racked her sore, numb body. And the last thing I remember was you fainting like a schoolgirl after that cloaked man told you he transformed the Kyuubi into a baby girl. Then after that, he said something to me that I didn't really understand and then I lost consciousness. But why am I, still alive? The Kyuubi got ripped out of my seal by that masked guy, and even an Uzumaki like me can't survive something like that for long. Choetsu must have healed you somehow, said Minato. It's just another thing I need to thank him for. Kushina was confused. Who's Choetsu? Minato sighed for the umpteenth time that day. Listen Kushina. I have a lot of things I need to explain to you. First of all, do you remember the cloaked man who saved us from the Kyuubi? Why yeah, he was the guy who was all like, I'm the Rikudo Hiraishin, and all that. Well, turns out his real name is Uzumaki Choetsu, and he's our grandson from the future. After Minato finished his statement, his beloved wife just looks at him with a blank, unnerving stare. Then, ah. Kushina laughed uncontrollably. Her body started going through a phase of uncontrollable spasms and tears began forming in her eyes. That's, like, totally ridiculous, Minato. What Uchiha genjutsu'd you while I was asleep, and when will you give me permission to hunt him down and pound his face in until it's inverted? Minato, unfazed, simply held his gaze with Kushina. The unfaltering expression on his face showcased the Hokage's stone-cold seriousness. Kushina, who was still in denial, said, sweetheart, you can, stop it now. I'm not falling for such a ridiculous prank. This is no joke, replied Minato, the serious look still persisting on his face. Kushina's eyes widened. Why, you're serious, aren't you? But how? I saw it for myself. And even then I had doubts, but now that I think about it, there's no reason for Choetsu to be deceptive. He's so powerful that it wouldn't even matter if he was lying or not, so I have no choice but to believe. And besides, the resemblance is far too great, and no henge could fool me or Sarutobi-sama. Quote, he looks like you under that cloak? Asked Kushina incredulously. Yeah, he does. He looks like a carbon copy of me with your face and the skin tone of Hiyashi-san's wife. Kushina's face brightened up suddenly. Oh, how interesting. Maybe that means that Naruto marries a Hyuga when he grows up and has a baby. Minato chuckled at his wife's change in mood. That's a possibility. Choetsu never told me who his mother was. But I was a little too occupied at the time to really think about something like that. Where is Choetsu? Asked Kushina hesitantly, the Rikudo Hiraishin's name rolling off her tongue awkwardly. He said he was leaving and vanished. Didn't even tell me where he was going or what to do now, answered Minato. The last things he said to me was to take care of Naruto and Kurama. Kurama? Who's that? That's what Choetsu called the Kyuubi, said Minato. What? Exclaimed Kushina. The damned fox has a name. Yeah, and now her name, since she's a baby girl now, will be Namikaze Kurama. Quote, wait, what? Don't tell me that you plan on, adopting the freaking king. I mean Queen of Biju. Meeting this Choetsu guy has made you crazy. It's not crazy, it's actually a perfectly logical plan. Even Sarutobi-sama agreed with me. Kurama-chan is basically a blank slate now, according to Choetsu. If we raise her right and protect her from the corrupting influences of her chakra, then she'll grow to become a fine shinobi and individual. We'll be doing basically what no Jinchuriki has done before, tame their Biju and transform them into a force for good. Yeah, but still, this is the Kyuubi we're talking about. The beast who almost destroyed the entire village and probably killed a lot of people in the process. How are you going to explain the baby Kyuubi's existence to the villagers, Minato? Questioned the Uzumaki. Well, the official cover story is that Naruto and Kurama are twins, said Minato. Somewhere in an abandoned forest near the border of Mizu no Kuni, the land of water, Uzumaki Choetsu pondered his previous and future actions. He had only been in the human realm of this timeline for a little less than a week, yet he had already changed everything so drastically. With the fourth Hokage and his wife living past the Kyuubi attack, his father's life would be much different. Let's see. What have I done so far, said Choetsu, talking out loud to himself. Well, I intervened in the Nine Tails rampage and saved Minato Jiji and Kushina Ba-chan, and then I kicked Toba's ass. So that's two things to check off my initial list. I haven't really taught the mortals anything all that useful yet, but I can save that for later. So that leaves one thing. The flying thunder god of six paths suddenly disappeared in a radiant, yellow flash normally associated with his paternal grandfather during this time period. Reappearing instantly a few miles away, the Rikudo Hiraishin suspended himself in mid-air a couple hundred meters off the ground above two rocky mesa-like hills. On top of these hills were buildings and various man-made structures, evidence of the village that resided there. The two hills were connected by a bridge. The village itself was rather small, belonging to none of the 5 great shinobi nations. It was called Nadeshiko Village, and it consisted almost entirely of females. Casting a genjutsu that even an ordinary Rinnegan could not see through in order to mask his presence, Shoetsu descended down towards the village and phased through the walls of a rather important-looking building. Inside, a woman with long, black tresses of hair in a distinctive Heimcut style had just given birth to a newborn baby girl. Shizuka, the future leader of Nadeshiko Village, thought Shoetsu to himself, as a one-episode filler character, "You're about as random as it can get. I hope you appreciate the handy dojutsu I'm going to give you." "This is not my daughter," yelled Uzumaki Kushina, startling the 2 sleeping newborns awake. Her husband tried to shush her quietly but was having tremendous difficulties with the task. "Calm down, Kushina. You're going to make Naruto and Kurama cry. I can't believe this, Minato. How can you even expect me to accept this thing into our home, into our family? This is the very same demon that's been haunting me from the very core of my soul since I was a little girl." "That's not true," argued Minato, again trying futilely to calm his raging wife. "Kurama is a blank slate now. She's not like the old Kyuubi. She's just a little girl, and if we raise her right, she'll grow up to be a great individual. Please, for the sake of the children, just let this go, Kushina." "How do you know?" screamed the Uzumaki. "How do you know that this girl isn't just going to transform back into the beast one day when we least expect it and destroy everything we consider precious to us?" "Answer me, Minato." "Shoetsu told me. He assured me that as long as Kurama is raised right, she won't be a danger to us," answered the Yondaime. "And you believe him? What a load of bullshit. This guy claiming to be your grandson from the future gives you a little light show and now you believe everything he says. Well, I won't allow myself to become fooled by him so easily." Sighing heavily, the Hokage pinches the bridge of his forehead in frustration. "Listen, Kushina. The way you're acting right now, I can completely understand it. You've been the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki for a long time, and it must be hard for you to look at Kurama as anything else but a demon fox, especially after everything that has happened so far. Why, you think you can understand me, huh? Do you honestly believe that you could even possibly understand what it's like to have a demon sealed in your fucking stomach? To live as someone completely alienated from the rest of society? Honestly, if it weren't for you, Minato, I would have gone crazy from it all a long time ago. And now you expect me to treat the cause of all my pain like a daughter." Flying into complete and utter rage, the crimson-haired woman made a grab for baby Kurama, who was completely wrapped in a swaddling, white linen cloth. Minato watched in horror as Kushina held the now bawling infant roughly in her arms. Fortunately, Minato would never know exactly what Kushina planned to do with the demon fox turned baby girl, because at that exact moment, the cloth wrapped around Kurama's head fell away, revealing the newborn's mop of crimson hair. Kushina stopped. "Her hair, it's the same color," said Kushina as she began to tear up. "It's the same color as my hair." Carefully brushing the infant's red locks with 2 fingers, Kushina watched as Kurama ceased her crying and began to coo, looking widely at the Uzumaki with her cute, blood-red eyes. Taking a lock of her own hair, Kushina wrapped it around Kurama's pudgy fingers and began rocking the baby back and forth, quickly lulling her into a deep sleep. "The red thread of fate, huh?" whispered Kushina softly. "I guess this means you have it too, Kurama-chan." Minato, who had been watching the entire time, gave the red-haired pair a heartwarming smile before embracing his wife and holding her in his arms. After brushing the tears from Kushina's eyes, Minato whispered, "See, that wasn't so bad. She really grows on you, doesn't she? At first, my thoughts about Kurama were the same as yours. I just expressed them less violently. But after no more than 5 minutes with the girl I felt like she really is my daughter." Kushina gave her blonde husband a peck on the cheek before placing Kurama next to Naruto on the makeshift baby bed in their shared bedroom. Both newborns were deep asleep. Kurama was snoring softly and Naruto had drool leaking from his mouth. "Namikaze Naruto and Namikaze Kurama, huh? You two, you are our children. You are the future. Hokage-sama, Naruto and Kurama, they're at it again, sir," yelled a nameless Chunin frantically as he entered Hokage's office. Minato looked up from the pile of paperwork on his desk before asking, "Sai, what did they do this time?" I think they just redecorated the Hokage monument, sir, answered the Chunin. The entire monument, including my face? No, Hokage-sama, I think they decided to avoid painting your head on the mountain. Oh good, that's fine then, said Minato with a light chuckle. But sir, oh, fine, I better go handle this. And with that the Yondaime disappeared with a yellow flash. Hey you two, get down from there this instant, yelled Amino Iruka. The Chunin instructor was currently leaning at the edge of the Hokage building's roof, with one foot standing on top of the railing. A vein was bulging in his temple, indicative of the raging temperament which the teacher currently sported. Namikaze Naruto and his red-headed twin sister Kurama were both hanging from the stone head of the Sandaime with painting equipment in their hands. Yelling back at his sensei, Naruto exclaimed, "No way Iruka-sensei. This prank is my newest, greatest masterpiece, and Kurama-chan's too, datbayo." Yeah, Naruto knees right. None of you would be able to do anything even close to this, TT Ebane. Exclaimed Kurama, not even my daddy, as cool as he is. Really? Is that so? Said an amused voice from above. Looking up, Naruto and Kurama spotted their father himself, standing on top of the Sandaime's head wearing his formal Hokage robes minus the hat. Dad, yelled both Namikaze children at the same time. When did you get here? Oh, just now. I dropped everything when I heard you two were up to your usual antics again. Hokage-sama, I'm so terribly sorry about all this. Iruka apologized, I'll take care of it right away. Sucking in a huge breath of air, Iruka puffed his chest up before roaring, what the hell are you doing during class time? Get down here now. The sheer intensity of his voice startled the twins, causing them to fumble with their painting supplies. Naruto, Kurama, listen to what your sensei says, said Minato in a stern voice, or else I'm telling your mother. Naruto and Kurama both froze in abject horror. Now they're bound to listen, thought Minato with a smirk. No, please, anything but that. Listen up class, since Naruto and Kurama here have wasted my precious lecture time with their pranks, I think it's time for a pop quiz. Iruka's students all groaned collectively. Some of the boys were even glaring harshly at Naruto. Of course, the Hokage's son merely ignored the stares, self-assured that they were just jealous of him. Now then, I want you to all line up in alphabetical order and perform Henge no Jutsu. Transform yourselves into a replica of me. One by one, the academy students all took their turns and transformed into their sensei. Some performed the jutsu excellently, some failed, and some just barely passed. When it was finally Kurama's turn, the red-haired, whisker-faced vixen completed the necessary hand seals and transformed into a perfect replica of Iruka with a puff of smoke. Excellent, Kuramaheim! Exclaimed Iruka in enthusiasm, as expected of our top student. You performed the jutsu perfectly. Now then, Naruto, you're up next. Grinning like a madman, the short blonde-haired prankster approached the front of the class. The 12-year-old boy was wearing a black tracksuit with orange stripes on the sleeves, similar to the one he had seen his father wearing in old photos of him as a kid. His short, unruly sun-kissed hair was left wild, untamed, and free, giving him a slightly rugged look. Like his sister, he had 3 distinctive whisker marks on both cheeks. I'll show you all my super awesome and completely original technique, exclaimed Naruto before placing his hands in a tiger seal and releasing a burst of chakra. The boy was enveloped by a cloud of smoke which soon cleared, revealing a naked female version of Naruto. At the sight of the completely exposed and highly voluptuous blonde women, Iruka was launched away by a stream of his own blood. After releasing the technique, Naruto started bellowing in laughter while holding his sides tightly. Oh man, that was rich. I call that my Oiroke no Jutsu, TT Ibeo. Don't invent stupid skills, you moron! Screamed an enraged Iruka, whose head had expanded and become more demonic in appearance. The graduation exam is tomorrow, and I know that this is only your first time taking it, but you have to be more serious about this, Naruto. Naruto just brushed off his sensei's comment, and began to turn around to head back to his seat when he was assaulted by a massive killer intent coming from every girl in the entire classroom. It didn't help that 99% of that killer intent was coming from his own sister. How many times have I told you not to use that technique in the presence of girls, Databane? Screamed Kurama before punching her twin with a chakra-enhanced fist, smashing Naruto into the nearest wall. Every boy in the class promptly shivered in fear, and a few girls as well. With the usual namikaze antics over, the rest of the demonstrations went rather smoothly. "Uchiha Sasuke, it's your turn now," said Iruka. The quiet, dark-haired boy promptly stood up from his seat and made his way to the front. The Uchiha wordlessly performed the jutsu, transforming into a near-perfect replica of his sensei. "Outstanding, Sasuke," said Iruka in praise. "Your henge was the best so far besides Kurama. The only thing that's a little off is the detail of my scar." Instead of being pleased by his teacher's praise, Sasuke frowned before giving a slight, barely noticeably glare to the Hokage's daughter. "Yeah, go Sasuke-kun. You're the best," cheered Sakura Haruno from the background. She was Sasuke's pink-haired admirer, fangirl. "You're wrong, forehead girl," exclaimed Ino, Sakura's best friend and rival. "Naruto-kun's obviously so much better than that stick in the mud." "Take that back, Ino pig." After a few more students went, the pop quiz was over. "Well done, class. Although we had a few failures, I think it's safe to assume that you're all ready for tomorrow's test. At least the transformation portion of it. So good luck to you all, and remember to study and get plenty of rest tonight." After being dismissed from class, Naruto and Kurama walked out of the room together, ready to go home to their family. Before they left, however, they were stopped by a certain Inuzuka. "Yo, Kurama-chan, that was so awesome, what you did earlier. Not even Sasuke did a better henge than you," said Kiba. "How about you and me get together sometime?" Kurama sighed in frustration, while Naruto gritted his teeth in sheer annoyance. "For the last time, Kiba." "I'm not interested," replied the red-haired vixen before walking off. "Aw, come on, baby. You know you can't resist me," yelled Kiba as he tried to chase after her. He was stopped by Naruto, however, who had grabbed his shoulder. "Get lost, dog breath. If my sister says she's not interested, then she's not interested," Naruto growled. The dog lover shook Naruto's hand off before saying, "Peef, what do you know? You're nothing but a dead least. I mean seriously. Somebody please tell me that you were adopted, cuz, there's just no way that a crappy ninja like you could possibly be the Hokage's son or Kurama-chan's brother." The namikaze heir glared at the Inuzuka before socking him in the face and walking away. "So, Iruka, how are my children doing?" asked the Hokage. Iruka was startled and looked up from the homework he was grading. The Chunin found his blonde-haired leader sitting across the room in Naruto's seat. "Hokage-sama, I didn't notice you coming in," stammered Iruka profusely. "Well, of course not. I would be worried if people developed the ability to actually notice my Hiraishin. What is it that you need me for, sir?" "I just wanted to drop by and ask you about Naruto and Kurama. It is their graduation exam tomorrow. Do you think they will pass?" "Kurama will definitely pass, Hokage-sama. She is our top student. Even Uchiha Sasuke falls short of her skill." "Which is surprising considering the amount of time she spends pranking," Iruka replied. "As for Naruto, to be honest, sir, and I mean no disrespect, but I'm a little worried about his chances of passing." Iruka hoped with every fiber of his being that he hadn't offended the village leader, but his fears proved unfounded when Minato gave him a wide grin and said, "I see. Naruto isn't as proficient in the ninja arts as Kurama, but I have my utmost faith in him." "Really? Aren't you worried, Hokage-sama?" "No, I'm not. Naruto will pass," said Minato with absolute confidence. "There's just something about my son. Something that says as plain as day that he's the kind of person who will surprise you when you least expect it. That's why I believe in him. He will pass." "Does he ever ask you for help, sir?" asked Iruka, who was genuinely curious. Naruto, despite his antics, or maybe because of them, was always a source of intrigue for Iruka. "No, I've offered many times in the past, but he always refuses. He says he wants to learn how to be ninja on his own without my help. The most he's ever asked for are the occasional little tips and of course jutsu scrolls to learn from." "Naruto, he's an enigma, isn't he?" said Iruka. "I remember when he and Kurama first joined the academy. He did very well and showed a lot of potential, but then after a few weeks he stopped applying himself and slowly dropped further and further in rank, until he was at the bottom of his class. Maybe, if that had never happened, he would be my top-ranked student instead of his sister." "Maybe," said Minato, "that might just mean something." "Mom, we're home," greeted Naruto and Kurama as they entered the front door of their family estate. The two 12-year-olds dropped their bags on the nearest sofa before a voice from the kitchen rang out to them. "Welcome home, sweethearts. I made you two some snacks. I figured that you would need them because school must be getting pretty hectic, especially with the exams coming up." "Thanks Mom, and yeah, school has been pretty hectic lately. Just today me and Kurama Pa'ao." Kurama had just elbowed her brother in the ribs, preventing the blonde from accidentally revealing their misadventures to their mother. I mean we participated in a pop quiz with the rest of the class, hee. "What kind of quiz? I hope it wasn't too hard. I was never really good at written exams," said Namikaze Kushina. "It was just an evaluated demonstration of the Henge no Jutsu, nothing too difficult, Mom," answered Kurama. "Oh I see. Well, as long as you two are staying out of trouble." "Oh, of course Mom, Ibane," said Kurama nervously. Naruto was likewise rubbing the back of his head in a sheepish manner. Meanwhile, Kushina was thinking to herself, "This is unreal. As soon as I finally got over saying Databane whenever I get worked up, Kurama starts copying me. And I thought it was bad enough when Naruto started saying that Datbayo crap." Grabbing the snacks made for them by their mother, the two siblings went off to their shared bedroom to prepare for the upcoming exam. Namikaze Minato sat Indian style on top of his head on the Hokage monument as he looked over the village he had sworn to protect. It was that time of day again. While Kakashi had the memorial stone and Sarutobi had his long walks around the village, Minato had his carved visage as a place of solace for himself. It was quiet, serene, and most importantly, unreachable for any normal person, whether they be shinobi or civilian. Here, the Yondaime could escape from the paperwork and politics of being the Hokage and think about his life. He was so fortunate to be living the way he was right now, a loving wife, two beautiful children, plenty of close friends, and the respect of the entire village. That's why, now more than ever, Minato couldn't help but wonder sometimes what the world would be if a certain someone had not intervened on that day of October 10th, 12 years ago. Of course, he already knew the answer to that question. Naruto would be an orphan and a Jinchuriki, shunned by the village. Kurama would still be an evil demon fox, and both Kushina and he would be dead. It made him shiver just thinking about a world like that. "Mind if I join you, Minato Gigi?" spoke another voice out of nowhere. Spooked from his thoughts, the blonde Hokage turned towards the sound of that voice and found an almost carbon copy of himself. "Choetsu, is that you?" exclaimed Minato in shock. What are you doing here? I haven't seen you in 12 years. "Well, I haven't seen you in 10 minutes, was the Rikudo Hiraishin's reply. Minato gaped. What? From my point of view I mean, time travel, remember?" "Oh, right. Well then, what exactly are you doing here?" asked Minato. "What, I'm not allowed to go hopping across time and space for the sole purpose of talking to my grandfather, who by the way, is dead in my original timeline. Sorry if I offended you, Choetsu, I didn't mean it like that." "No need to be sorry, after all, I did come here for a reason, to tell you the truth. Naruto and Kurama should be graduating from the academy soon and becoming full-fledged shinobi, genin to be exact." "Am I correct?" "Yeah, the graduation exam is tomorrow," replied Minato. "Well then, I have a proposal to make to you," stated Choetsu. "And what would that be?" "When both Naruto and Kurama make Chunin, which I bet Sennin to me's treasured tools on being as soon as they take their first Chunin exam, I want to take them away on a 2.5-year training trip with me." "That's a really interesting proposal, but Jiraiya's already offered to do the same." "Oh come on, do you really want Naruto's soon-to-be pubescent mind in constant contact with Jiraiya of all people for over 2 years? Even with Kurama there, I fear for the future of Naruto's chastity." "You've got a point, I'll think about it, Choetsu." "Oh goody, now then, on to some more business," said Choetsu enthusiastically. "You have more proposals to make of me?" questioned the Yondaime. "Yes I do in fact, will you marry me?" Minato promptly face-palmed before he formed a Rasengan and slammed it into Choetsu's stomach. Fortunately for the Rikudo Hiraishin, his Preta Path technique absorbed the spiraling sphere of chakra before it could do any actual damage. Wow, what a harsh rejection. If you were a lady I would strongly pity anyone dumb enough to ask you out, which in another universe would probably be a gender-swapped Kushina Bachan. Konoha's yellow flash continued glaring menacingly at the instigator of his righteous fury. "Calm down, Ji-chan, I was only joking. I am neither of the homo ual persuasion, nor am I into incest unless it involves insanely beautiful, exotic women. Be serious, Choetsu, do you really have anything else to discuss with me, growled Minato. Just one more thing, but we can't discuss it here, stated Choetsu. Where then, can we discuss this topic, whatever it is? Somewhere far, far away. A place where even your Hiraishin cannot reach. And if we go there, understand that because of what I'm about to show you, we won't get back here for a few days. But Naruto and Kurama are going to graduate tomorrow. I can't be gone for that. And besides, even if it takes that long, can't we just time travel back? This is a matter of utmost importance, vital to the timeline itself. It's a lot more complicated than you think. You will be missing the next few days, it can't be helped. I'm sorry. Minato frowned, unwilling to leave his village and his family like that on such short notice. Fine, I trust you Choetsu, just let me leave a note for Sarutobi-sama so he can cover for me. Minato formed a few hand seals before slamming his palm against the ground, causing a complicated array of strange characters to appear. Forming one last hand seal, Minato caused the array to disappear in a small puff of smoke. What was that? Asked Choetsu. That was a fuinjutsu I invented myself. It allows me to place a message in a seal that can be accessed by the chakra of a specific person. It's a lot faster than writing a physical letter. I teleported the messenger seal as I call it to Sarutobi-sama's office for him to read, but of course, you already know all of this, don't you? You're the Rikudo Hiraishin after all, explained Minato with a smirk. Touché, replied Choetsu. Huh, said Minato. It's French, don't worry about it, there's no such language in this particular universe. And with that, the Rikudo Hiraishin snapped his fingers and the two were gone. Who fought the Shodai Hokage at the Valley of the End? Some guy named Uchiha Madara, I think. Is that right, Kurama-chan? Yup, good job, Ni-san. What was the Uchiha Segregation Act and why did it fail? Something about the civilian council trying to segregate the Uchiha clan on suspicion of being behind the Kyuubi attack 12 years ago. It failed, cause our old man stopped it and identified the real culprit of the attack. Good, see Naruto, the written part of tomorrow's test won't be as hard as you think, Ibane, reassured Kurama. Yeah, but my brain still hurts. Wanna take a break and go spar? Sure thing, let's go tell mom and head to the training ground, replied Kurama. There was a knock at the door. Who is it? Said Kushina in a sing-song voice. She made her way to the front door and opened it, revealing Sarutobi Hiruzen, the retired Sandaime Hokage. Sandaime-sama, what can I do for you? Questioned Kushina politely. Don't mind me, Kushina-chan, I'm just here to deliver a message, replied the aged Hokage. What it is? Does it have to do with Minato? Asked Kushina curiously. Yes it does. You see, Minato has left the village, stated Hiruzen. He left the village? What for? Asked Kushina with a concerned tone. I'm not sure, but he left a message for me saying that it was of utmost importance. Also, and this is an S-ranked secret, but it has something to do with Uzumaki Choetsu, the Rikudo Hiraishin. You mean that man, from 12 years ago? The one who said he was my grandkid? Asked Kushina incredulously. The very same, according to Minato's message. The Rikudo Hiraishin has returned, and whatever has prompted him to return is also the reason for Minato's departure. How long will he be gone? It said a few days in the message, maybe a week at most. I will be taking over Minato's duties as Hokage again, for however long he is gone. After passing on the message, the old professor gave a hearty farewell before leaving Kushina to herself. Hey, Mom! Yelled a voice from deeper into the house. We're going to the training ground to spar, okay? Alright, be careful you two, was her answer. When she was finally alone in the house, Kushina said to herself, how am I going to tell them that their father won't be there for graduation? Deep within the darkest corners of Konohagakure, an old man with an X-shaped scar on his chin and a bandaged eye and arm met with two masked shinobi. What do you have to report to me? Fu, said the old man in an authoritative voice as he addressed his two most trusted subordinates. We've come across some interesting files pertaining to the Namikaze family which we would like to bring to your attention, Danzo-sama, said one of the masked nen. Oh ho, how intriguing, what did the files say? This time, it was Fu's partner Torun who responded. According to the files, a collection of hospital records from before the Kyuubi attack, Namikaze then Uzumaki Kushina did not actually give birth to twins on that day. Also, all the birth records we found on Kurama Namikaze have been determined to be forged. Interesting. Maybe the girl was adopted, or perhaps, it is something else entirely. Good work you two. You are both dismissed. After the two root agents disappeared with a flicker, Danzo muttered to himself, Namikaze Kurama. Who, or what exactly, are you really? Come at me with all you got. Naruto ni, said Kurama confidently as she eased into a basic taijutsu stance. Her blonde-haired brother did the same, albeit with a sloppier and less refined form. Don't hold back just 'cause I'm the dead last. Okay sis, replied Naruto. Why would I, unlike everyone else? I know you're just faking it. By the way, that stance is horrible. Stop pretending because I know you can do better than that. But what if someone sees? This is our private training ground, don't worry about it. Reassured by his sister's words, Naruto quickly corrected his stance, matching and even surpassing Kurama's own form. Well then, let's begin, said Naruto before he rushed at his red-haired twin. Moving like a blur, the yellow-haired boy flickered behind his sister and delivered a powerful right-hand smash to her exposed backside, launching her far away. Naruto's triumph was short-lived however, as Kurama's body disappeared in a puff of smoke and was replaced with a now broken log. Pretty fast, but you'll have to try harder than that, said a voice from behind Naruto. Fire release. Stream. A stream of fire capable of melting through solid rock was launched at Naruto, who used his speed and agility to just barely evade the fiery jutsu. Using ninjutsu already, Naruto commented before going through a sequence of hand seals. Building up wind chakra in his mouth, Naruto exclaimed, wind release. Stream. A current of concussive wind was released from Naruto's mouth. Instead of aiming the technique for his sister's position like she had done to him with her Kaden, Naruto chose to aim his Futon at the ground in front of him, kicking up a cloud of dust which obscured Kurama's vision. Kurama prepared herself for the worst as 3 kunai flew at her from the dust cloud. The red-haired vixen ducked, causing the kunai to impact against 2 trees behind before the exploding tags attached to them detonated. The Hokage's daughter barely escaped the explosion by somersaulting forward above Naruto's dust cloud. Unfortunately for her, this maneuver left her back vulnerable as Naruto quickly drop-kicked her from behind. After regaining her footing, Kurama delivered a powerful kick aimed for Naruto's head. Naruto blocked the kick with both hands but it knocked him back, causing him to lose his balance. Kurama quickly followed up with another Kaden stream, which engulfed Naruto's form with reddish-orange flames. When the flames dispersed, Naruto was gone. The redhead looked around for her opponent but before she could find him, a black and orange blur elbow checked her into a training post. He's just as quick as usual. I can't afford to let my guard down, thought Kurama in her head. The vixen went through another series of hand seals, but before she could complete the last tiger seal, Naruto jumped up and launched 4 shuriken at her. Shuriken Cage Bunshin! Exclaimed Naruto as he transformed the 4 shuriken into 40. Kurama watched the shurikens approach her in slow motion as she prepped herself to evade the incoming barrage. Before she could do so, however, Naruto had completed another set of hand seals in midair at blinding speeds before he yelled, wind release, gale palm. A gust of wind was released from Naruto's outstretched hand, which accelerated the velocity of each shadow shuriken. Without any time to dodge, Kurama was forced to waste her jutsu to protect herself. Fire release. Fire Dragon Flame Bullet, said Kurama announcing one of her most powerful Kadens. The flames released from her mouth intensified and formed a dragon-like visage, which engulfed the shurikens and consumed the wind chakra propelling them. The flaming dragon eventually converged on Naruto himself, becoming a blinding firestorm upon impact. Kurama panicked, not expecting Naruto to actually get hit and thinking that she had seriously injured her beloved brother. Her fears were eased however when the flames were suddenly dispersed by a blue whirlwind of chakra, revealing Naruto completely untouched with a sphere of spiraling energy in his right palm. Rasengan! Naruto cried out before he slammed the ball of chakra into the ground in front of Kurama, kicking up a cloud of dust and rocks and leaving a large crater behind. You're out of chakra. If I wanted to kill you with this Rasengan, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it, stated Naruto matter-of-factly. I guess that means you win again, replied Kurama while shrugging her shoulders. When did you learn Dad's Rasengan, though? That was really awesome. I taught it to myself with one of Dad's scrolls which he let me borrow. It took me a long time to master though, especially with just one hand, answered Naruto. What, are you serious? Exclaimed Kurama in response, you learned that by yourself. I've had Dad helping me with that for months and I still haven't gotten past the first stage. For a dead last, you're pretty genius, Ni-san. Just don't tell anyone that I know the Rasengan, okay? Of course not, I've kept all your secrets so far. But why are you hiding your skills so much? Do you like being called a dead last? You know that's not it, snapped Naruto with a huff. Don't you remember what happened when we first enrolled in the academy? Oh that, is that why you've been playing dumb all of these years? You still haven't gotten over that, huh, Naruto? You know, continued Kurama, you're gonna have to stop hiding eventually. When we become genin and start participating in missions, an enemy ninja isn't going to care whether you're faking it or not, he's just going to kill you. I know, when that time comes, I'll be ready, replied Naruto. I hope so, little brother. Hey, I'm the older one. Sarutobi Hiraishin pinched the bridge of his forehead for the umpteenth time as another argument sprung up between the village council members. The aged shinobi was already beginning to miss his retirement and having to participate in politics again was not helping at all. The worst part of it all was that the meeting had not even officially started yet. There were still several clan heads not present, without which many of the other members refused to begin. Of course, although the actual meeting could wait, apparently the yelling and arguing could not. Ehem, coughed Hiraishin in order to get the council's attention. I think we've waited long enough, ladies and gentlemen, and I would really like it if we could get this meeting underway now. But Sandame-sama, started Hyuga Hiyashi, head of the Hyuga clan, Yondaime-sama isn't even here yet. He's right, where's Minato-sama? Why would we start if the fourth isn't even here yet? Calm down everyone, ordered the Sandame in a raised voice. Minato is not here because he has left the village on very important and classified business. I am filling in for him as Hokage. Business? What kind of business, and why weren't we informed? Protested one of the Hokage's advisors, Utatane Kaharu. I'm afraid that only Minato and myself are privy to this information, Hiraishin replied, and Kushina too, but they don't have to know that. But the Shinobi Academy is hosting its graduation tomorrow. Voiced one Uchiha Fugaku, head of the prestigious clan of Sharingan users. The Hokage can't possibly miss that. Like I said, this is very important business, and I will be filling in for Minato anyways. While the Sandame continued answering the numerous questions being sent his way by the other council members, a certain old war hawk sat in his chair thinking, Namikaze Kurama. If ever there was an opportunity to unravel your secrets, now would be the perfect time. Hours later, when the meeting had finally adjourned, Shimura Danzo arose from his seat and left the council building with a new plan in mind. I'm going to become a ninja today for sure, Datbeo, exclaimed an energetic Naruto as he raced through the streets of his father's village. The blonde-haired bundle of energy bumped into numerous bystanders on the way, eliciting a combination of annoyance and amusement from his victims and spectators respectively. Hey, isn't that the honorable son? Whispered a stranger as Naruto zipped by. Yeah, that's Namikaze Naruto. I heard that he's supposed to be graduating from the Ninja Academy today, replied another stranger. Well, I heard that he's most likely gonna fail. They say he's one of the worst ninja ever. That's ironic considering who his dad is. Maybe his genius sister stole all the talent. The whisker-faced shinobi hopeful merely ignored these comments and continued on his way to the academy, stopping for no one. By the time he got there, he found his red-headed sister already there leaning against a tree, waiting for him. Looks like I win the race again, Ni-san, said Kurama playfully. Yeah, well, let's do that again when it's dark and nobody's watching and then we'll see who wins, replied Naruto. The Hokage's daughter simply giggled in response. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Naruto. Anyways, why don't we go inside? I'm sure everyone's waiting for us, Databane. The two siblings ventured into the academy together, both excited at the prospect of becoming recognized adults in the eyes of the village. They found themselves walking down a long hallway to where their class would be. On the way there, however, Kurama encountered a tiny little problem. Hold on, Naruto, said the vixen while swaying back and forth, I really have to pee all of a sudden. Naruto looked at her funny, that's weird, you didn't have anything to drink today. Maybe you're just nervous. Doesn't matter. I can't hold it anymore." After having said that, Kurama was gone so fast you would have thought she had spontaneously learned her father's Hiraishin. After relieving herself in the women's restroom, Kurama went to wash her hands. Looking at herself in the mirror, the crimson-haired soon-to-be kunoichi found herself wondering why she could never see herself as her parents' child. It was a question she asked many times in her life, only becoming even more apparent as her body developed and she neared the pubescent stage. Kurama could never find an ounce of her mom and dad whenever she saw her image in the mirror, and that scared her. Of course, anyone besides herself would think she was crazy. Superficially, she looked like a chibi version of her mother Kushina, with her blood-red, shoulder-length hair, her cute, tomato-shaped face, and the dark, red, almost burgundy dress she wore which further accentuated her vibrant hair. But to her, there was always something different about her, something deeper than the superficial. And that was unacceptable. Suddenly, as Kurama reached for a paper towel to dry herself, a sharp pain welled up in her stomach region, causing her to double over in discomfort. Looking up, the redhead did not find the sapphire orbs which she had inherited from her father, but two irises of bloody scarlet centered on elongated, cat-like slits rather than normal pupils. "This has been happening a lot lately," whispered Kurama to herself in concern. "Is there something wrong with me?" "Listen up, class," barked one of Iruka's teaching assistants, a man named Mizuki. "Your graduation exam to become genin will be composed of 3 parts: a written test, a taijutsu portion, and a ninjutsu demonstration." A series of collective groans resonated through the room in response to each part of the test, most of them coming from the mentioning of the written portion. "We'll administer the written exam first, so everyone take their designated seats and wait for the test," announced Iruka himself. After everyone received their test and answer papers, the written final began. Of course, as soon as he got the paper, Naruto put his stupid mask on and pretended that he didn't have any clue what he was doing. The test itself proved to be fairly simple. It was mostly questions about basic shinobi terms and the history of the 5 great shinobi nations, as well as questions on what to do in certain predicaments that a ninja could find themselves in. Naruto was glad he had went over all of this with Kurama, as most of the answers came to him quickly, allowing him to finish before everyone except Haruno Sakura and his own sister. To keep up his dunce act, however, Naruto decided to randomly yell out, "Damn it, I give up, I'm sick and tired of this stupid test." As soon as he was done, this elicited looks from practically everyone else in the class. Most of them were snickering or shaking their heads, while Iruka just looked at him with a disappointed expression on his face. Afterwards, the dead last turned his test paper over and laid his head down, pretending to sleep. He was really just thinking though, as he had a lot on his mind lately. Becoming a ninja for one, from now on, his life would be completely different. He also found it odd that his dad never came home yesterday, but it was understandable considering what his position was. Then his thoughts started to wander towards some of his classmates. First there was Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto's self-proclaimed rival who had embarrassed the blonde-haired boy in spars countless times during their academy years. Little did Sasuke know that all those times he had bested, who he called Adobe, were just acts to further cement Naruto's status as the dead last. Other than that though, Naruto really had nothing against Sasuke. Yeah, the sheer number of fangirls he had was annoying, but Naruto had a few fangirls of his own on account of being the Hokage's far from ugly son. And although the Uchiha boy's arrogant attitude pissed Naruto off occasionally, he could tolerate it, especially since most of the instances in which Sasuke's arrogance truly showed actually benefited Naruto's act. Yes, Uchiha Sasuke wasn't all that bad in Naruto's mind. In fact, Sasuke and him had a few play dates when they were little due to their mothers being best friends or something, but that stopped after a time. Next, there was Haruno Sakura, a girl with bubblegum pink hair who was also the smartest kid in class. To be honest, Naruto has somewhat of a crush on her, she was smart and beautiful. Unfortunately, Sakura was smitten with Sasuke and didn't really give Naruto the time of day. Then there was Yamanaka Ino, whom Naruto didn't really know what to think about. For one thing, Ino was one of Naruto's few fangirls. All she cared about was his looks and the fact that he was a namikaze, and she didn't give a toad's ass that Naruto was the bottom of the class. For this reason, Naruto felt both flattered and repulsed at the same time. So in the end, his opinion on the platinum blonde was rather ambiguous. Finally, there was Hyuga Hinata, heir of the prestigious Hyuga clan and resident class wallflower. She was extremely timid and lacked any form of self-confidence. Naruto wasn't really her friend, and he didn't recall ever having a long conversation with her in their entire time at the academy, but Hinata always intrigued him. She was mysterious in a way, a complete enigma to him, and he always wanted to know how she ticked inside. Plus, she was pretty cute to be honest, if a little weird. Unfortunately, the timid girl always seemed to have a fever whenever she was around him, and Naruto was beginning to suspect that Hinata was allergic to him somehow. "Stop, put your pencils down, and turn your test and answer sheets over," said Iruka after an alarm rang. "The written portion of the exam is now over." After Iruka and his assistant Mizuki finished collecting the tests, the Chunin instructors had the class follow them outdoors for the next stage of the exam. It was time for a little taijutsu. Shimura Danzo patiently rummaged through the files his two loyal subordinates had discovered. They were all hospital records detailing the course of Namikaze then Uzumaki Kushina's 10-month-long pregnancy, and all of them told one story, that Kushina was only expecting one child. Of course, it was not uncommon that a mother could give birth to twins without expecting it, and you could never be sure with former Jinchurikis. If these hospital records had been the only dirt he was able to dig up, Danzo would have probably given up his search. But it was to his luck that another file was found by his root agents. A highly classified report written by Minato himself and addressed to the Sandame. It detailed Kushina's labor, including the events that transpired during Kushina's post-birth kidnapping and the Kyuubi's release. Although the report was obviously missing an entire second half, any info related to Kushina's labor which was present in the report failed to mention a second child being born. So where did Namikaze Kurama come from? Danzo then turned to the post-birth records and certificates, and the old war hawk found that, like his subordinates had said, all the documents pertaining to Kurama were forged. Another layer to the manifold of enigmatic complexity that was the red-haired vixen was her chakra. Her very special chakra. It was a yellow, almost golden color and possessed a feel and a presence that was altogether different from anyone else, almost as if it wasn't human. Many who knew this chalked it up to Kurama's relation to Kushina, who also possessed special chakra, but Kushina's chakra at least felt human. As he pondered the subject, Danzo's mind began making the same conclusion over and over again. There was, without a doubt, only one possible explanation to the mystery of Kurama Namikaze. "Fu, Torun," said Danzo, calling out to his two most trusted minions. "I believe we have a Jinchuriki in our midst." Uchiha Sasuke smirked as his opponent for the taijutsu spar was chosen. It was the dead last prankster, Namikaze Naruto, son of the Yondaime Hokage. Despite his prestigious lineage, Naruto was a terrible ninja. He had never won a single spar in the academy. His accuracy was non-existent. He was physically and conceptually incapable of being silent or sneaky, and he screwed up every ninjutsu he tried to perform in his entire life. Sasuke had this fight in the bag. Of course, the Uchiha wasn't planning on completely humiliating the blonde. Besides his horrible skills and annoying antics, Sasuke could tolerate Naruto and he respected him for his unwavering determination. But most importantly, both Naruto and he were living in the shadows of two of the village's greatest shinobi, the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and Anbu commander Uchiha Itachi. On that level, they could both relate to each other completely. "I'm sorry, Naruto, that you have to fight me," spoke Sasuke condescendingly as he approached the Hokage's son. "If it had been anyone else, you might have been able to give a good enough showing to pass the taijutsu exam." "What are you talking about, Sasuke?" replied Naruto. "I plan to win this fight." The crowd of students who had gathered around them to watch the fight, a customary occurrence whenever Uchiha Sasuke sparred, all laughed out loud at the blonde's declaration. Naruto didn't give them a chance to make any biting comments, however, because he immediately went to rush his opponent before throwing a sloppy punch at his face. Sasuke ducked to avoid the incoming fist and then used a well-executed kick to trip Naruto and knock him off his feet, causing the prankster to fall face first into the mud. As more snickering erupted from the audience, Naruto arose from the ground and tried to punch Sasuke again, But this time the prodigy caught his fist and flipped the hapless blonde over, leaving him on the ground again. In the crowd, Kurama was thinking, "What are you doing, Naruto? Stop faking it. I thought you wanted to pass the exam." The spar continued on like that for a while. Naruto would rush at Sasuke and try to hit him, but Sasuke would always evade or block the blow and then knock Naruto onto the ground. After a while, the audience became bored of the humiliating fight, and everyone was now waiting for Sasuke to finally end it. Unable to take it any longer, Kurama yelled out, "Stop holding back, Naruto, and kick his ass." Turning towards the voice, Sasuke's eyes narrowed in cold fury. That voice was the voice which belonged to the person whom Sasuke hated the most. The only one in their entire class whom Sasuke could never beat. The only one who was always better than him. Letting his stoic composure drop completely, Sasuke gave a little battle cry before charging at Naruto with all his speed. After gaining enough momentum, the Uchiha boy lifted off the ground and sent a flying drop kick at Naruto. The kick missed by barely an inch and collided with the person directly behind Naruto, his red-headed sister. Not expected the kick, Kurama wasn't able to block or dodge in time and was sent careening through the air, before being knocked onto her back. The heavy kick caused a lot of pain for the red-haired vixen, causing her to give out a weak cough. A few good Samaritans went to help the girl off the ground, while numerous fanboys of Kurama were glaring daggers at Sasuke, who was trying his best to look apologetic, but couldn't help but hide the smirk on his face. The smirk was immediately wiped off his face, however, when the largest killer intent Sasuke had ever felt was directed right at him. "Sasuke," whispered Naruto in a chilling tone, "did you just drop-kick my sister?" The Uchiha gulped noticeably before replying, "Why yeah, what of it, dead last? Nothing, just try not to blink." And with that, Naruto vanished in a flash of blonde hair, before flickering in front of Sasuke and punching him hard in the gut. The blow was so hard that it knocked Sasuke a few feet off the ground, and while he was in mid-air Naruto delivered a powerful spinning kick to his jaw. The ebony-haired boy was sent flying away in pain, while many in the audience gasped at Naruto's incredible display of speed. Sasuke quickly regained his balance, but as soon as this happened Naruto charged at him again. This time Sasuke was able to react and jump over Naruto, but unfortunately for him, there was another flash of light and Naruto was once again positioned in front of him. The next thing Sasuke knew was that he had been hit by another extremely forceful punch and sent flying almost 30 feet away into a tree. By the time he collided with the tree, the top-ranked boy in the class was already unconscious. All of Naruto's classmates as well as his instructors looked on in complete amazement with their jaws hanging loose. The same thought was coursing through almost all of their heads. Did the dead last Namikaze Naruto just defeat the elite Uchiha Sasuke with only 2 hits? The only two who were not completely overwhelmed with surprise was a certain red-haired vixen and a pale, lavender-eyed wallflower, who were both gushing in happiness at Naruto's victory. Naruto, realizing what he had just done, turned back to the crowd and gave them a sheepish grin while scratching the back of his head. "Sorry, I get really worked up whenever my sister gets hurt, hee." Iruka just sighed before raising his voice and saying, "Well, it looks like we have a winner. Naruto, you are disqualified for using Shunshin no Jutsu during a taijutsu-only match. Which means Uchiha Sasuke is the victor." What the hell, Iruka-sensei?" raged Naruto at his teacher. "I totally kicked Sasuke's ass. He's fucking unconscious." As Naruto chewed out the scarred Chunin instructor about the match, Naruto's classmates continued whispering to each other about the outcome. Many of them were still in disbelief at what happened. A few were even in denial. They thought they were stuck in some sort of genjutsu and placed their hands together in a tiger seal in order to dispel it. Meanwhile, the raven-haired Uchiha was just beginning to stir from his state of unconsciousness. As soon as he opened his eyes, Sasuke was greeted by the sight of his pink-haired fangirl. "Are you okay, Sasuke-kun?" asked Sakura with a concerned tone. "Don't worry. I know that you losing to Naruto must be some sort of fluke. That idiot must have cheated somehow." Sasuke's eyes widened in disbelief. "I lost to Naruto." Yeah," was the cherry blossom girl's nervous reply. Uchiha Sasuke promptly fainted, once again joining the realm of unconsciousness. Meanwhile, back with Naruto and Iruka, Sorry, Naruto, but it's just a technicality. You really shouldn't worry about it too much, we all know in our hearts who really won the match. Besides, these taijutsu spars aren't really about who wins or loses. They're about giving a good showing of your skills. And you definitely gave a good showing, Naruto. That was amazing. I had no idea that you had it in you. Naruto gave another sheepish grin before saying, hee hee, I didn't know I had it in me, either, Iruka-sensei. When did you learn Shunshin no Jutsu, by the way? Huh? I was just wondering when you learned the body flicker, repeated the Chunin. Most shinobi don't learn that technique until they're of Chunin rank, and they usually don't have enough control over it to actually use it in a fight. Naruto started sweating as his mind raced to find an excuse. Don't really know. I don't think I ever used this, Shunpo no Jutsu or whatever you called it before. Quote, what? If that's the case, then how did you move so fast? I was just really pissed that Sasuke hurt my sister and then all of a sudden everything became a blur, lied Naruto. My body was moving on its own and the next thing I knew, Sasuke was out cold. The way he described it was almost like the activation of a hidden Kekkei Genkai. But I've never heard of a bloodline that allows someone to spontaneously use the Shunshin without having learned it first, pondered Iruka in his head. If it was anyone else I would have called bullshit on their story, but he is the son of the Yellow Flash. That makes it at least somewhat plausible. That's odd, I've never really heard about anything quite like that, said Iruka out loud. I'll have to look into it more, Naruto. Sensei, do you mind not telling anyone about it yet? I'm kinda worried that there might be something wrong with me, and I don't want anyone to know just yet. Especially not my mom or dad, said Naruto with a pleading look on his face. Okay, I'll keep it a secret for now, replied Iruka with a sigh, but I'm going to have to tell your father eventually. Besides, all your classmates saw it too, so I'm not the only one that you need to talk to about keeping this a secret. Oh them. I'm pretty sure I won't have to worry about any of my classmates spilling the beans, said Naruto whimsically as he looked onto the crowd of students who were all trying to dispel the genjutsu that they still believed they were trapped in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting for this day for over 9 years. Exclaimed the masked shinobi as he addressed his comrades. Our original mission was supposed to occur 9 years ago, but with the threat of the Yondaime Hokage, our leaders decided to delay it in favor of a better opportunity. And now with the news of the Yondaime's departure from Konoha, that opportunity is here. As the lead shinobi said this, he pumped his fist into the air, causing a rush of adrenaline to course through all of the other dozen or so ninja in the room with him. They all began chanting, pumping themselves up for the mission to come as their leader continued his empowering speech. When he was done talking, the leader raised his fist into air once again and shouted to the heavens, for the Raikage. For Kumo. We are shinobi of the hidden cloud, and this is our mission. After the taijutsu spars were finished, the rest of the taijutsu portion of the exam consisted of target practice and physical examinations, all of which Kurama passed with flying colors. Naruto, on the other hand, was still trying to draw attention away from himself, especially after the showing he gave against Sasuke, so he only put in enough effort to barely pass with an average grade. Now all the students had been given a lunch break before the third and final part of the exam. The ninjutsu portion would begin. As usual, Naruto was eating with his friends Akamichi Choji and Nara Shikamaru, as well as his sister Kurama. Sasuke usually ate with them too, but he seemed to be missing. Naruto figured that he was still sore about getting his ass whooped. So, Naruto, spoke Shikamaru, the class's resident lazy bum. This is kind of a troublesome question. But, how the hell did you beat Sasuke earlier? The pineapple-headed Nara boy was currently eating a lunch of mackerel and kelp, but had barely touched any of it as his lazy but analytical eyes bored into Naruto's own. Well, I actually have no clue, answered Naruto nervously while trying to avert his eyes. My body sort of just moved. It was really all a blur to me. It was all a blur to us too, exclaimed Choji enthusiastically, his mouth partially filled with a few bites of Korean barbecue. You should have seen how fast you moved. So you're saying that your body just moved on its own, and that you have no idea how you beat Sasuke? Repeated Shikamaru in disbelief. Naruto muttered a yes while his sister nodded in agreement. Cut the crap, continued Shikamaru, that story's full of holes. It's true, interjected Kurama. I know my brother the best out of everyone and I've never seen him do anything even remotely like that. Unconvinced, the lazy genius thought in his head, I honestly don't buy it. It's physically impossible for someone to just gain the ability to move like that all of a sudden. But it's too troublesome to pursue any further, so I think I'll just drop it. Fine, whatever, said Shikamaru out loud. Naruto, who had just finished his meal of instant ramen, decided to get up to throw it away. When his back was turned to Shikamaru, Naruto sighed in relief. Kurama, likewise got up and followed her blonde-haired brother. After throwing the finished ramen cup into the trash, Naruto went to walk back to his table when he was suddenly pulled into a warm embrace by a pair of familiar arms. Thanks, Ni-san, said Kurama affectionately, for what you did earlier. What are you talking about, Kurama-chan? Asked Naruto as he returned the hug with equal affection. You blew your cover and kicked Sasuke's ass brutally all for me, replied Kurama. You really know how to make a girl feel loved, even if it's your sister. Naruto grinned sheepishly while rubbing the back of his head. Well damn, you make it sound like I have a sister complex or something. You do. Come on, Naruto stop trying to hide it. Just face it, you can't resist me, exclaimed Kurama in jest. Shut up. Oh, Naruto-kun, shrieked an unmistakable voice from behind the siblings. Naruto promptly froze, still in his sister's embrace. Oh look, Ni-san, it's your fangirl. I'll give you two some time alone then, said Kurama with a hint of mischief as she let go of Naruto and quickly fled the scene. Naruto glared at the retreating form of his sister but was stopped from yelling back at her when a pair of likewise familiar arms wrapped around his torso from behind. You were absolutely amazing back then, Naruto-kun, whispered Ino into his ear with a sultry tone. I knew all along that you were so much better than that Sasuke, but no one believed me. Now no one can possibly deny how incredible you are. As she continued stroking Naruto's ego, her fingers likewise began stroking his clothed chest in a circular motion, causing the prepubescent boy's cheeks to redden. Listen, Ino, spoke Naruto, finally gaining the courage to use his voice, we really need to talk about this. Will you? Yes, 100 times yes. Squealed Ino in ecstasy. Yes, I will marry you, Naruto-kun. Even if it's too soon for us, even if my dad doesn't approve, I don't care. I want to be your wife. What? Marriage. I wasn't going to talk about that. That's crazy. You weren't. Exclaimed the platinum blonde in surprise. Well then, my mistake. I kind of got carried away, sorry. It's totally fine, I guess, replied Naruto sheepishly, but what I was gonna say was that, honestly, I'm not really all that interested in a relationship with you. I mean, you're really pretty, I'm not going to lie. He called me pretty, gushed Ino in La La Land. But I'm kind of interested in someone else, finished Naruto. It's Sakura, isn't it? Exclaimed Ino with an accusative finger pointed in Naruto's face. No, I mean yeah, I mean kinda, sorta, asserted Naruto weakly. I knew it, squealed Ino once again. Oh, isn't this great? We have a love triangle going on. No wait, it's actually more of a love rectangle. Isn't that fabulous? A love rectangle, said Naruto, perplexed. Yes, a rectangle. I'm in love with you, you're in love with Sakura, she's in love with Sasuke, and Sasuke's in love with me. Wait, since when was Sasuke Teme in love with you, or anyone for that matter, said Naruto. I'm still pissed at him for drop-kicking my sister. Well, I'm not exactly sure about Sasuke, but the rest was spot on, right? Not really. I wouldn't exactly call what I feel for Sakura love. It's more of an infatuation. Infatuation in smashation. When you're in love, you're in love. That's what I think. That's great, I guess, said Naruto. Well anyways, I really need to be going right about now. And with that, the blonde-haired Namikaze vanished with a flicker, leaving a confused and irate Yamanaka behind. This was it. The third and final portion of the academy graduation exam was just about to begin. Almost every student was on edge, as the ninjutsu portion of the exam made up a majority of the final grade. In fact, not being able to perform even a single one of the required techniques was enough to fail a student. The tension was so thick it could have been cut with a knife, as the aspiring shinobis waited in their classroom to be called to the testing room. While most of the students were anxiously fidgeting in their seats, there were a few exceptions to the norm. For example, One Nara Shikamaru was completely off in dreamland, while his friend Akamichi Choji was currently snacking on some potato chips with increased vigor. A sharp sound resonated through the room as the door to the testing center opened with a loud creak, startling a few nervous students. Mizuki, the teaching assistant, was the one to emerge from the other room. It would appear that the final test was to be taken in reverse alphabetical order, as the first name Mizuki called out was Yamanaka Ino. The platinum blonde hesitantly arose from her seat before making her way to the silver-haired Chunin, all eyes on her. After entering the other room, the door shut behind her with a reverberating thump. A few minutes later, Ino emerged with a smile on her face and a new, shiny Hite-8 in her hand. The same process continued as each student was called up one by one in reverse alphabetical order. Some passed, exiting the room with positive expressions and their very own forehead protectors denoting them as newly christened shinobi of the leaf, while others failed. These unlucky individuals left the room in various states of disappointment and distress. As Kurama's turn drew near, the red-haired vixen started to feel a throbbing pain in her head. It was dull and weak at first, barely prompting any recognition from its victim, but over time it grew stronger, causing the Hokage's daughter to massage her temple. "Namikaze Naruto," Mizuki called out as he emerged from the testing center for the umpteenth time, "it's your turn to take the ninjutsu test." Naruto got up from his seat, and was about to head towards the doorway when his sister gave him a brief good luck, causing the blonde to notice the pained and tired expression visible on his sister's face. "You okay, Kurama?" asked Naruto in concern. "Yeah, I'm fine," replied the redhead, "just a little headache." "Now get along, you, and don't hold back." "Don't worry, I won't. Not this time." Walking into the testing room, Namikaze Naruto noticed two things. 1. Both of his Chunin instructors were sitting at a desk at the front of the room. 2. On the desk were dozens of shinobi forehead protectors, all of them inscribed with the symbol of Konoha. Naruto made a silent promise to himself that one of those Hite-8 would become his. "Hello, there Naruto," greeted Iruka warmly. "For the final part of this exam, I want you to perform 3 jutsus that we've worked on at your time here at the academy. Henge no Jutsu, Kawarimi no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu. You must successfully perform all 3 techniques to pass this part of the exam. Even if you only miss one, you will still fail." "Are you ready?" "As I'll ever be," exclaimed Naruto confidently as he performed the correct hand seals for the transformation technique, causing a cloud of ninja smoke to appear with a loud, popping noise. When the smoke cleared, it revealed an identical copy of the Yondaime Hokage. "How do you like that, sensei?" said the Yondaime look-alike in the raspy preteen voice of Namikaze Naruto. "Excellent, Naruto," congratulated Iruka, "that was perfect. Now I want you to swap yourself with a log using the body replacement technique while I throw this book at you." Iruka promptly took out a random hardcover textbook which he chucked at Naruto. The blonde-haired boy smirked before his body disappeared with a poof of smoke, revealing a perfectly chopped, wooden log in its place as the flying book impacted. "Kawarimi no Jutsu, success," declared Naruto, announcing his position to everyone present in the room. Iruka and Mizuki looked towards the Hokage's son, who grinned back at them with a radiant smile. "That was great," praised Iruka again. "Now you only need to perform one more jutsu correctly and then you'll pass. All you need to do is create 2 copies of yourself with the clone technique, and then you're done," explained Mizuki. "Piece of cake. I can do way more than just 2 clones," said Naruto arrogantly. The Namikaze completed the required set of hand seals for the technique before releasing a surge of chakra, causing a cloud of smoke to envelop the room. When the smoke cleared, there were over a dozen clones of Naruto standing around the original. "And there you go. Can I have my forehead protector now?" "I'm sorry, Naruto," said Iruka. "We wanted you to make 2 clones and only 2. I'm sorry but you failed the test." "What the hell, Iruka-sensei? First Sasuke and now this. Do you not want me to pass or something?" Suddenly, the scarred Chunin instructor bursted into laughter, causing the other 2 present in the room to sweat drop. What exactly was so funny? "Oh man, Naruto, the look on your face," said Iruka while wiping the tears from his eyes. "I was only joking." "You passed. Are you serious? That's awesome," exclaimed Naruto while jumping up and down in pure joy. "I'm a ninja, now, Datbayo." The newly christened shinobi started to bounce around the room in a hyperactive manner, causing the two chunin to sweat drop at the boy's antics. Although amusing, the sheer excitement being showcased by the blonde-haired genin was also heartwarming and almost contagious, as Iruka started to feel a little giddy himself. "Hey, Naruto, are you forgetting something?" said Iruka with a smirk as he held up a brand new forehead protector in his right hand. "That's my forehead protector? No way, it looks so cool. I can't believe I get to wear that. Of course, you are a shinobi now, and shinobi wear these. So go ahead and try it on." Iruka tossed the Hite-8 at Naruto, who promptly caught it. Taking the blue cloth, Naruto tied it around his forehead, but found to his disappointment that the headband made his hair spike up in an uncool fashion. Removing the forehead protector, Naruto took it and tied it around his right forearm. "You want it around your arm?" asked Iruka. "Well, I guess it's fine. There are plenty of ninja who don't wear their forehead protectors over their actual forehead. But I suggest that when you get in an actual combat situation that you use the Hite-8 for what it was meant to be used for." "Sure thing, Iruka-sensei. I just think I look cooler with it tied around my forearm." Sigh, kids these days. Well anyways, congratulations again. Now get going, cuz your sister is next up for the test. Listening to his teacher's command, Naruto enthusiastically exited the room with his new Hite-8 proudly displayed on his arm while humming to himself a highly audible and upbeat tune. "Well, that was unexpected," said Mizuki, breaking the silence that remained after the blonde-haired boy's departure. "I could have sworn that he was going to fail." "Naruto's been full of surprises lately," replied Iruka, not noticing the dangerous undertones lurking beneath the friendly tone of his comrade's voice. The entire class waited through an eternity-like second of anticipation as the door to the testing room opened. Emerging from the doorway was a blonde-haired, whisker-faced 12-year-old. Instead of having an expression of disappointment like so many in the class were expecting, the boy had a radiant smile that lit up his entire face. Many of the students likewise noticed the shiny, new Hite-8 wrapped around his forearm. "Hell yeah, that's my brother!" exclaimed Kurama in joy while jumping up from her seat. Most of the other students however were staring at the new graduate with expressions of utter surprise and shock written all over their faces. One of the exceptions was an indigo-haired, shirking Violet who was thinking, "I'm so happy for you, Naruto-kun. I really hope I can be strong and pass like you, so we can be shinobi together." As Naruto made his way up to where his sister, the red-haired vixen, ignored the subtle pain still coursing through her head and rushed her brother, pulling him into a strong embrace. "I'm so proud of you, Ni-san," said Kurama. "Mom and Dad are going to be so happy when they hear about this." "Hee, thanks Kurama-chan," replied Naruto. "You should get going now, though. It's your turn to take the test. Of course, wish me luck." And with that, the Hokage's daughter let go of her twin and made her way to the door. As Naruto witnessed his sister disappear into the other room, he felt eyes boring into the back of the head. Turning around, he came face to face with none other than Uchiha Sasuke, who was giving him a menacing glare. "Who are you, and what have you done with the dobi?" asked the raven-haired boy. Iruka smiled proudly as Kurama performed the body replacement technique flawlessly. The vixen was his best student, having obtained a near-perfect score on the written exam, the taijutsu exam. And now she was one jutsu away from passing the ninjutsu exam with flying colors. In his mind, Iruka believed that Kurama was a step above her peers. No one, not even his second-best student, Uchiha Sasuke, had ever defeated her in a spar. She already had a grasp on nature transformation, being able to use Kaiden ninjutsu at such an early age, and she easily surpassed Sasuke in that aspect despite the fact that his clan specialized in fire release. "Fantastic job as usual, Kurama-chan," said Iruka out loud. "Now all you have to do is create 2 clones with Bunshin no Jutsu, and you passed the test." Quote, Kurama nodded before performing the requisite hand seals for the clone technique. When she completed the final seal, she released a surge of chakra in order to finish the jutsu. But then something happened. As Kurama was concentrating, the throbbing pain in her mind suddenly intensified, causing a sharp, stinging sensation to surge through her body. Then, in an instant, Kurama's mind flashed through a series of images. It was like her life was flashing before her very eyes, but none of the memories were ones she recognized. The first thing she saw was an old man with horns wielding some sort of staff, Then she saw a raven-haired man who reminded her of an older version of Sasuke who was glaring at her with demonic, crimson eyes. Next, she saw a man with long, brown hair who she recognized as the Shodai Hokage, and then a woman with the same colored hair as her but styled into two elegant buns. The woman had a diamond-like symbol etched on her forehead. The image that followed that was of her mother as a young girl, staring straight at her with a determined expression on her face. After the images of people passed, Kurama witnessed images of great destruction. It was Konoha, her beloved village, filled with devastation. Buildings were torn apart and on fire, and dead bodies littered the ground everywhere looking very much like insignificant ants. Finally, the last image Kurama saw was of a white-cloaked man. The man had strange, concentric ringed eyes that were the same color as hers. He pointed at her, and then the flashback was over. When Kurama returned to her normal state of consciousness, she was greeted by the shocked expressions of both of her teachers. Kurama looked back in puzzlement, wondering what it was that had surprised the two Chunin so much. She looked down and found her answer. It was a clone of her, lying sickly and half-dead on the floor with its tongue sticking out comically. Kurama's mouth gaped open in shock. She had practiced the clone technique countless times before, and it had never turned out like this. The red-haired vixen formed the hand seals for the technique again, and let loose a surge of chakra. But instead of feeling like the controlled stream that she was used to, Kurama felt a massive, chaotic outburst of golden-hued energy that was almost painfully expelled from her body. Another poof of smoke resulted from the surge, revealing 5 additional dead clones of her. "Kurama-heim, I don't know how to say this, but I can't pass you with this," said Iruka sadly. "I'm sorry but you failed." Kurama's eyes widened as she weakly dropped to her knees. "And no way. I passed everything else. I got almost every answer correct on the written test. I was undefeated in the spars, and I performed every other technique right in this test. But I can't pass because of one lousy clone." "You can't be serious, Iruka-sensei." "I'm dead serious, Kurama. Rules are rules and I'm afraid that I can't let you become a shinobi if you can't even make a single bunshin. You'll have to try again next year." "Oh come on, Iruka, can't you cut her some slack? She passed the rest of the exam perfectly with higher scores than any other student, and we've seen her make a clone before. Can't you just let this slide?" said Mizuki sympathetically, "and besides, what will her father think if we failed her on the premise of just one technique?" "You know I can't do that, Mizuki," replied Iruka, "and I know for a fact that Hokage-sama would be more upset with me if I sent his daughter into the world of shinobi unprepared. He'll understand." Realizing that there was no convincing her sensei, Kurama got up from her knees and walked away with a sad slump in her posture. Iruka watched sadly as her retreating form opened the door and left the room, never noticing the sly smirk that appeared on his assistant's face. As the door opened with a creaking noise, all heads turned towards its direction expecting a triumphant redhead to emerge. Instead, the class's top-ranked student left the testing center with her head down and a desolate expression on her face. There was no forehead protector in sight. In response to this, many in the class displayed various signs of complete and utter bewilderment, such as sharp gasps, dropping jaws, and bulging eyes. And of course, the one most surprised by this unfortunate event was Naruto himself, who was rendered completely speechless. Never in a million years could he have foreseen something like this happening to his sister. Unable to take the bewildered stares any longer, Kurama fled the scene immediately while attempting to avert her gaze from any of her peers. By the time Naruto or any of the other students had recovered from their stupor, the scarlet-haired vixen was gone. The blonde-haired Namikaze was just about to leave in search of his sister when a voice called out to him, breaking the insufferable silence. "Hey dead last. What the hell did you do to Kurama-chan, you asshole?" exclaimed Inuzuka Kiba while pointing an accusative finger at the blonde. "What are you saying, dog breath?" Naruto asked, clearly offended. "I'm saying that you cheated and sabotaged Kurama-chan's exam somehow. It's the only way you could possibly pass and the only explanation for why she failed. That's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. I would never do something like that to my sister." Despite Naruto's reply, many of his classmates were nodding and agreeing with Kiba's remark. Irritated by this, the Hokage's son was just about to clock the Inuzuka boy in his mug when Iruka's silver-haired assistant emerged from the other room and called up the next examinee. Namikaze Kurama sat alone on her favorite swing set while she watched her fellow classmates celebrate their recent graduation into ninjahood. Kurama was still in shock at having failed the exam, but what puzzled and worried her most were the visions she had experienced during that fateful moment. Meanwhile, as his sister moped on the swing, Namikaze Naruto pushed his way through the thick crowd of rejoicing parents and students with a single goal in mind: to find his sister. The good feeling he had received from passing was immediately squashed less than 10 minutes later when his twin had left the testing room with the saddest facial expression he had ever seen her with. The whisker-faced boy was roused from his internal musings when another figure crashed into him. The other individual was unfortunately much lighter than him and knocked unceremoniously to the ground. It was Hyuga Hinata, the timid, indigo-haired class wallflower. She was sporting a new Hite 8 around her neck, evidence that she had indeed passed the graduation exam and was now a full-fledged shinobi. "Oh Kami, Hinata, I'm so sorry," apologized Naruto profusely while he helped the madly blushing girl up from the ground. "I wasn't looking where I was going and I guess I bumped into you a little too hard. I'm really very sorry." "It's okay. Naruto-kun. I wasn't hurt, or anything," stuttered the Hyuga heiress in response. "I guess, but still, it was very rude of me to knock you over like that," replied Naruto sheepishly. "Oh. And I noticed that you got a headband, so that means you passed the exam as well. Congrats, Hinata, you really deserved it." "Thank you, Naruto-kun," said Hinata while she poked her two index fingers together nervously. "I'm glad you passed too." "Yeah, I'm glad too, but I feel really bad that my sister didn't pass. By the way, have you seen her? I need to talk to her and get to the bottom of this mess. I have to find out how someone like her could possibly fail the test. I think I saw Kei Kurama-san over that wallway. And near the playground." "Thanks a bunch, Hinata-chan, you're the best," exclaimed Naruto before he ran off to find his sister. Hinata just stood there after his departure with a massive blush on her face thinking, "I can't believe it, he called me Hinata-chan." "That look doesn't suit you, Kurama-heim," said a voice out of nowhere, startling the vixen from her melancholic thoughts. Looking up, the Hokage's daughter found herself face to face with a smiling Mizuki, Amino Iruka's silver-haired teaching assistant. "Mizuki-sensei, what are you doing here?" asked Kurama, puzzled. "I needed to talk to you. I was shocked when Iruka didn't pass you," answered the Chunin instructor. "Me too," replied Kurama with a downcast look. "How could Iruka-sensei do that to me? I was his best student, and I passed every other test we were given perfectly. Iruka is a very serious person. His parents died during the Kyuubi attack 12 years ago, and since then he has taken being a true shinobi to heart. But what none of you students know about him is that in the years after his parents' death, Iruka was an infamous prankster." "And no way. Iruka-sensei liked to prank people? I can't imagine someone strict like him doing that." "It's true, I was one of his best friends at the time, and even I wasn't off limits when it came to his pranking. I think that since you and your brother are both pranksters, he sees himself in you too. That's why he didn't want you to enter the world of shinobi unprepared." "Is that why he failed me?" Kurama asked. "I believe it is," replied Mizuki, "but I still don't think it was right of him. Tell you what, if I could give you another chance to become a genin, would you take it, even if it was dangerous?" "In a heartbeat, yes. I need to become a ninja. I have to make my parents proud of me. Please, Mizuki-sensei, tell me how I can graduate." "Excellent, Kurama-heim, I admire your drive. You'll make an excellent shinobi. Now then, just come along with me, and I'll tell you all about the alternate graduation exam to become a genin," said Mizuki with a sly smirk on his face. The swing set was empty. There was no red-haired vixen in sight. "Damn it, I was too late. Kurama must have left before I got here," raged Naruto in frustration. Squinting his eyes and scratching the back of his head, Naruto looked around trying to find any sign of where his sister could have gone. Before he could actually find any, the 12-year-old was suddenly brought into a bone-crushing embrace from behind. "Oh, Naruto, my baby. I'm so proud of you, Databane," exclaimed Namikaze Kushina while slipping back into her old verbal tic due to excitement. "Kei-ka-chan, when did you get here?" Naruto asked with his voice muffled by his mother's tummy being pressed into his face. "Just now. Did you really believe that I would miss my children's graduation ceremony? By the way, Where is your sister? I want to congratulate her too. About that, Mom, said Naruto nervously, Kurama didn't pass the graduation exam. See, come again, stuttered Kushina as her face took on the impression of a startled fish. Kurama failed the test, muttered Naruto with a downcast expression. How in the world did she not pass? Exclaimed the red-haired woman in anger as her crimson locks billowed outwards in the form of 9 tails. She was the best student in the class. I swear that I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Where's Iruka? Iruka-sensei should be over there in the crowd somewhere talking to the other parents, but shouldn't we be finding Kurama instead? Wait, what do you mean by finding Kurama? Where did she go? I don't know, Mom, after failing she just ran off, and I've been looking for her ever since, replied Naruto. Kushina rubbed her chin with her fingers, as if pondering some quandary. If your father were here we could easily find Kurama with one of his tracking techniques, but unfortunately he's out of the village. Wait, Dad's not here? Of course not, silly. If your father was here he would be congratulating you too. He left last night on important business for the village. I'm sorry I didn't tell you too, but I didn't want you to worry about him with the big test today. Quote, when will he get back? Old man Sandame told me that he would be gone for a few days at most, but he may be back sooner than that, answered Kushina. Naruto gave his mother a sad look, and Kushina could tell just by looking that the words, I can't believe my own father missed my graduation ceremony, were written all over his face. Her only response was to pull her child into another warm embrace. Mizuki looked on as Kurama left to go complete the task he had given her. Under the guise of an alternate graduation exam, the silver-haired assistant had successfully tricked the vixen into stealing the Hokage's forbidden scroll. Deceiving a 12-year-old girl into doing your dirty work for you is not something I approve of, Mizuki-san, spoke a voice from behind Mizuki, startling the Chunin, unless, of course, it is for the good of the village. The voice obviously belonged to an aged man, a fact that Mizuki confirmed when he turned around and came face to face with Shimura Danzo, one of the village elders. Danzo-sama, I see, can explain. This is, stuttered Mizuki before he was interrupted by the bandaged, old man. There is no need to explain yourself, Mizuki-san. Your actions benefit my agenda, and therefore they benefit the village as well, explained the elder. How so? I could have sworn that I was acting in my own interest here, replied Mizuki. You are acting in your own self-interest, but that doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't also benefiting others. You see, I have an interest in that girl you just deceived, and I would like to make a proposal for you. Mizuki gave the man a smirk before replying, I'm all ears, Danzo-sama. Naruto was roof-hopping at breakneck speeds, not caring in the slightest who saw him. After the graduation ceremony was over, he had asked Hinata very nicely to use her Byakugan to find Kurama. The moon-eyed girl was very eager to help. With her special vision, they were able to locate Kurama almost immediately. After bidding goodbye to Hinata and thanking her for helping him, Naruto rushed off to find his sister. Ironically, it was Kurama who ended up finding him first. I was waiting for you, Naruto ni. I need your help with something very important, said Kurama after locating her brother. Where'd you go, Kurama-chan? I was looking for you. And what happened back at the academy? How the hell did Iruka-sensei not pass you? Kurama gave her brother a melancholic look before saying, why don't I show you how I failed? Performing a sequence of hand seals, the red-haired vixen released a stream of chaotic golden chakra, generating a loud poof of smoke. When it cleared, Kurama stood over a sickly-looking clone of herself, which was lying prone on the ground. What is that? Asked Naruto, bewilderment written all over his face. That was Bunshin no Jutsu. I tried to make a clone during the ninjutsu test, but this is what happened, said Kurama. But how? I've seen you make tons of clones before. This doesn't make any sense. I think there's something wrong with me. My chakra is acting strange. Maybe that's why I can't make Bunshins anymore. Have you tried any other jutsu yet? Naruto asked. Kurama shook her head negatively. Try a Kaden, see if that works, suggested the blonde Namikaze. I'll give it a shot, said Kurama hesitantly before going through another set of hand seals. Inhaling a great breath of air, the foxy redhead exclaimed, Kaden. Enden. Instead of shooting a controlled flame bomb like she normally did when performing this particular technique, a pyrotechnical explosion of heat and flame erupted from her lips, knocking the poor girl almost 10 feet away. Realizing what happened, Naruto immediately went after his downed sister with a concerned look on his face. After helping the redhead up on her feet, Naruto said sheepishly, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, hee. Kurama just glared at the blonde and said, you think? So, if I were to make a guess, I would say that your chakra control has gone to shit. It would explain why you can't perform any ninjutsu anymore, said Naruto matter-of-factly. Yeah, that's what I think too, replied Kurama. Listen, Ni-san, I need to tell you something no one else can know. Could you keep a secret for me? Of course, you keep my secrets for me all the time. Just fire away, sis. Sitting down, Kurama cleared her throat as if she was a storyteller getting ready to weave an epic tale of heroes and villains. Naruto promptly followed her example, sitting Indian style on the floor. Okay, so it all started 12 years ago, on October 10th, when we were both born. Look Kurama-chan, I want to hear how you failed, not your life story. Could you fast forward a bit, more like a lot? Fine, it actually started today, just a few hours ago. Remember how I wasn't feeling well during the test? Yeah, you said you had a tiny headache. I was worried about you but you said you were fine. Turns out that you weren't fine at all, replied Naruto. Well yeah, so anyways, by the time the third part of the exam began, my headache was pretty bad. But it hadn't affected my skill at all so far, so I was confident nothing would happen. But during the ninjutsu test, when Iruka-sensei told me to perform the clone technique, I did what he asked, continued Kurama. But then what happened? Well, when I was right in the middle of creating a clone, my chakras suddenly went haywire, and I saw these weird images in my head. It was like my life was flashing before my eyes, but I didn't recognize any of the visions. Then when it ended, I was standing there with a sickly, retarded clone lying prone before me. I even tried again, and my chakra still wouldn't mold the way I wanted it to, finished the red-haired vixen. Then after that Iruka-sensei failed you. Man, he sure is strict, said Naruto, and those visions you had. Are you sure they weren't memories that you lost because of amnesia or something? I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've ever met the Shodai Hokage in my life, so I definitely would not have a memory of him, amnesia or not. Oh, well then, that's pretty weird. Man, I wish Dad were here. He would probably be able to answer all our questions and solve this mess, said Naruto with a sigh. Wait, what do you mean Daddy isn't here? Asked Kurama, with a concerned look on her face. I talked to Mom after the graduation ceremony. Apparently our old man left last night on some really important business, confirmed Naruto. So Daddy wasn't even at your graduation? Wow, what a bummer, Ni-san. I know, I really wanted him to be there. He would have been so proud of me. Naruto was about to continue on, but then he noticed the cheerless appearance of his sister's face. The graduation exam was still a sore subject for her, and mentioning their dad was just too much. So Naruto promptly shut his trap. There was a long, awkward silence between the two before Kurama spoke up. I found another way to become genin, you know. Really, but how? The only way to become genin is to pass the test. Mizuki-sensei talked to me after the test. Turns out he was just as upset with Iruka-sensei failing me as I was. He told me about this alternate test that the instructors only give in special circumstances and that if I passed it I would become a ninja. Wow, that's awesome. Mizuki-sensei is a pretty cool guy, replied Naruto enthusiastically, but what kind of test is it? Well, it's kind of dangerous, answered Kurama while averting her eyes. That's why they only give it for exceptional cases. Tell me what kind of test it is, Kurama-chan, said Naruto seriously. I have to steal the Shodai Hokage's forbidden scroll of seals. Naruto couldn't believe he was doing this. When he woke up this morning, the blonde was planning on becoming a genin today, not a missing nin. And stealing something like the forbidden scroll was just the ticket to becoming the latter. But this was for his sister, he would do anything for Kurama. Even become a missing nin. For once he was glad that his father wasn't here. If he was, stealing this scroll from the Hokage's manor would be a lot harder. But today, Sandaime Jiji was Hokage, and Naruto knew exactly what strategy to use to get past him. Oiroke no Jutsu! Exclaimed Naruto as he transformed into a buxom blonde woman whose heavenly body was fully exposed with the exception of the wispy smoke clouds covering her erogenous zones. Naruto smirked as his jutsu caused the aged Hokage to fly away in a spurt of his own blood, knocking the poor old man unconscious. After Naruto transformed back into his male form he said, "Oiroke no jutsu, success. Take that, Jii-chan. Now I just have to take the scroll and hand it over to Kurama." Hinata couldn't help but walk faster when her Byakugan spotted the same three suspicious individuals who had been stalking her ever since the graduation ceremony. At first, she chalked it up to coincidence, but now she could not deny that they were following her. They were dressed in mostly dark, civilian clothing, but Hinata could see that their chakra was too strong to be non-shinobi. Oh, how she wished she had taken bodyguards with her today like her father asked her to, but she really wanted to be able to train by herself. So now, not only was she alone, but her body was exceedingly sore due to the intense exercise she had put herself through. Now she was just trying to get home as fast as possible before her three stalkers could catch up with her and do whatever it was that they planning to do with her. It almost startled her to death when the three stalkers suddenly broke out into a run in her direction. Panicking, Hinata likewise broke into a faster pace than walking. Forget getting home. Now all she wanted to do was find another Konoha nin who could help her. But no matter what route she took, or what shortcut she used, Hinata couldn't lose them. They were gaining fast. One of them was probably a censor nin. But hope was on the horizon. The village proper was fast approaching, and the indigo-haired girl was fairly confident that she could reach it and get help before they caught up with her. Hinata ran as fast as she could and focused all of her Byakugan's attention on the three people chasing her. This proved to a horrendous mistake however, when Hinata suddenly collided with another warm mass which had suddenly flickered in front of her, knocking her to the ground. Focusing all your attention on the people chasing you and not even looking forward, I didn't think you would actually fall for a trick like that. But then again, you're just a 12-year-old girl, after all, said the tall, bulky man who she had run into. He was wearing the white Jonin vest of Kumogakure no Sato. The bottom half of his face was covered in a face mask that looked like the one that silver-haired, one-eyed Jonin who she sometimes saw around the village wore. His eyes were covered in thick sunglasses, and the top of his head was bald. He wore the Hite 8 of Hidden Cloud with a white cloth band. Letting her ninja instincts take over, Hinata reacted quickly and slammed her open palm against the man's chest. The Kumo Jonin grunted in pain before his form exploded in an azure cacophony of dancing electricity. The electrical current engulfed Hinata, shocking her into a state of unconsciousness. After the girl passed out onto the ground, the real Jonin whose lightning clone had just exploded in Hinata's face appeared. The large man grabbed the unconscious body of his target, before hefting her over his shoulder. "I love Raiden. Kage Bunshin," said the Kumo nin to no one in particular before using a quick shunshin to flee the scene. The two siblings met next to a particularly massive tree, about a few miles from the village proper, but still within the borders of Konoha itself. It was almost midnight, and the full moon shone high in the night sky with a ghastly silver radiance. "You don't know how grateful I am for this, Ni-san," thanked Kurama, addressing her brother who had just handed her the thick scroll he had stolen from the Hokage manor. "We watch out for each other, remember Kurama. You can always count on me to be there for you," reassured Naruto. "By the way, now that you have the scroll, what are you supposed to do with it? Did Mizuki-sensei tell you?" Kurama sat down in front of the large tree before unfurling the forbidden scroll dramatically. After sitting in awe at all the jutsus she spotted at first sight, Kurama looked at her brother and said, "All he told me was that I needed to learn one technique from this scroll and then I passed the test. That's it. Seems kind of easy for an alternate graduation exam," Naruto commented. "Well, if you factor in how the scroll needs to be stolen, which not everyone would be able to pull off, and the fact that everything in this scroll is a kenjutsu, it's probably a lot harder than the official test." "That's true. Good luck with your test, sis." "Thank you, Naruto. You should probably get out of here now. If they catch me, I don't want you implicated. You hinged into me when you stole the scroll like I told you, right?" Of course. I don't know what the point is though. I'm the only one in the world who knows the Y technique, so even if I transformed myself into you, it wouldn't fool the old man. Still, it's better to be safe than sorry. I guess I should probably head off now. Later, Kurama-chan. I'll give mom our alibi when I get home, said Naruto in farewell before he vanished in a flicker of smoke. Amino Uruka lied down in his bed, pondering the events of the day. He had just presided over the graduation of another batch of students. Students he had been teaching for over 4 years now. Thanks to the guidance of the academy, they were now ready to face the real world, the world of shinobi. Year in and year out, this was always one of his favorite times. But this year, he didn't feel the same emotion of pride for his students that he felt in the previous years. No, now he only felt guilt. Guilt for failing his prized student, Namikaze Kurama. Maybe he had been too strict with her, too technical. Oh come on, Iruka, can't you cut her some slack? She passed the rest of the exam perfectly with higher scores than any other student, and we've seen her make a clone before. Can't you just let this slide? He remembered Mizuki saying after he had failed Kurama. It still ate away at his conscience. What hurt him the most, however, was not any kind of guilt that he felt over upsetting Kurama. No, what he felt most guilty about was the fact that Kurama was Naruto's sister. And Iruka couldn't bear the fact that Naruto would hate him. He just couldn't bear it. Truth be told, even though Kurama was his best student, Naruto was his favorite. Maybe it was because they could relate. He saw his younger self in Naruto. They were both seeking attention, just for different reasons. He had felt unloved and unwanted in a world without his parents. Naruto wanted badly to escape the shadow of the greatest man in village history. But at the root of it all, they both just wanted some attention, a feeling of existing and mattering and having an identity to call their own. That's all. The first thing Hinata noticed when she came back to conscious awareness was that her body was completely numb, almost like she was paralyzed. She couldn't even move a single one of her fingers. The second thing she noticed was that she was being carried on the back of a highly muscular individual, probably a man, who was wearing shinobi clothing, including a Jonin flak jacket. Finally, after opening her eyes, she discovered that the Jonin who was carrying her was apparently tree-hopping at a fast pace through a familiar forest. Looking around, Hinata also found herself surrounded by 7 other shinobi, all of them Kumo nins like her captor. "Ah, I see you're finally awake, Hyugaheim," spoke the Jonin carrying her. This had the effect of startling the timid girl. "Don't bother screaming for help because we're far out of hearing distance right now." Who are you? And why have you taken me away?" stuttered the heiress in absolute fear. "Isn't it obvious, Haim-san? The hidden cloud wants the Byakugan, and you were the easiest route to getting it. We were just waiting for the Yondaime Hokage to leave the village," explained the Kumo Jonin, "but that's enough talking. Prisoners don't deserve an explanation." Unbeknownst to them, a certain classmate of Hinata who had also been hopping through the forest that night just so happened to spot the squad of Cloud Ninja. "No way, is that Hinata?" thought Naruto, "and why is she being dragged away by a bunch of Kumo nen?" Alarmed by the situation, Namikaze Naruto made a complete U-turn and went chasing after the foreign shinobi at his fastest speed possible. On top of the Yondaime's statue at the Hokage monument, a luminous flash of bright, yellow light spontaneously appeared, signaling an important arrival. When the light faded away, in its place were 2, almost identical men. The only difference between the two was the color scheme of their otherwise identical clothing, their skin tone, and their eyes. Well now, according to my amazing and completely infallible sense of all things temporal, it's only been about 24 standard hours since we left. That's considered a single day on this planet, said the pale-skinned one, clad in white and gold. Only a day? I thought you said the trip would take a few days or even a week, said the other. We got back early then, replied the first. I was accounting for any spontaneous detours in my original estimate, anyways. Like say, a detour to the Shinigami's realm, or maybe a little chat with my old buddy, that sage bastard. Turning towards his companion, the second individual, wearing a white cloak patterned with red flames, gave the other man a serious look before speaking. Thank you for what you showed me, Choetsu. This completely changes everything. No need to thank me. Changing the course of destiny for entire worlds is just Tuesday for a guy like me, he replied. After all, I am the Rikudo Hiraishin.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.